Mom bought a skin-regulating cream for my sister's acne. Stella, I picked this herbal ointment just for you after searching through countless options on WeChat. I warned her that unregulated products could cause cancer and shouldn't be used. Stella, eat up before your sister comes out, or you'll have to share one of these drumsticks with her. Mom accused me of cursing my sister and slapped me against the table edge. Thank you for loving me so much, Mom and Dad. But Dove is my sister. If she were really here, I'd gladly share with her. The sharp table corner pierced my blood gushed down my face, and the sight made my sister faint. I always knew you were a kind-hearted big sister, Stella, but don't waste your kindness on her. She doesn't deserve it. Mom was worried about my sister's condition and rushed her to the hospital. Look, I just used the skin treatment cream I bought on Stella once, and her acne is already healing with noticeably brighter skin. Without even glancing my way, they made me miss the critical treatment window. Asked her with a smile, Stella, see how much Mom cares for you. 5 treatment courses cost thousands. When I insisted on treatment, they beat me so hard my eardrum ruptured. Dove, I just looked it up on Baidu. Those instant results skin creams contain dangerous levels of lead and mercury. They're carcinogenic. From then on, I became half deaf with only one working eye, blinked hesitantly and murmured, Dove. To rot in the mud for eternity, whispering to me, Dove, Baidu searches are so unreliable. If they were accurate, we wouldn't need doctors. When I opened my eyes again, Mom was twisting open the cap of the medicated cream. See Stella's face now, used to be covered in acne, now just a couple blemishes, her skin's glowing. I watched silently as Mom gleefully applied the ointment to my sister's face before slipping away. Granny Hayes, your Hayes has terrible acne too. Why not try one treatment course first, reorder if it works? 1. Right on cue, Granny Hayes asked about the price the moment she finished speaking. Grandma Hayes happily signed up for 3 treatment courses. If Stella weren't in her senior year of high school, I'd consider opening a shop to sell this skincare bomb. It's received tons of positive reviews, not only works wonders on acne but also improves skin tone. Dove, do any of your classmates struggle with acne? Mom got you a treatment course to try first. Honey, this balm doesn't just help with acne, it brightens complexion too. Stella's face now looks as smooth as an eggshell. If it works well, I'll happily repurchase it for you. Dove, I just told Mom about your acne breakout. She'll apply the healing balm for you. A voice both familiar and strange echoed in my ears. Dove, this balm works wonders. My acne's almost gone. And look how rosy and glowing my skin is now. I looked up at the speaker and my pupils instantly contracted. And who should be sitting beside my sister but Kai, her husband from the previous life? It's Mom, so young. Dove, I truly love Kai. My gaze shifted to the pimple-faced girl standing before her, chin tilted upward. Kai said if you agree to donate a kidney to his uncle, his mother will finally accept me into their family. Then it hit me. All because Dad promised she'd get half the money from Kai's family. I'd been reborn. The one who hit Dad was none other than Kai himself. This was the day my past life began its descent into hell. Kai turned deathly pale, his whole body trembling as he sobbed quietly. I remembered warning Mom that day those unregulated products would give my sister cancer. Whether Dad was distracted or not, the fact remains he died under Kai's wheels. Mom accused me of cursing my sister and slapped me against the table edge. Kai's life was just beginning. The sharp table corner pierced my eye. Blood gushed down my face, and the sight made my sister faint. Kai's family couldn't bear the thought of their young son going to prison. Mom was terrified my sister's heart condition might flare up again. She rushed her to the hospital without even glancing my way. His sister wept uncontrollably, her gaze repeatedly darting toward Kai. By the time she remembered me, the golden window for treatment had long passed. It's hard to tell whether she was crying for Kai or her deceased father. Mom said there was no point wasting more money if the doctors couldn't cure me. Kai's father, with remarkable empathy as if mourning his own brother, rubbed his slightly reddened eyes. She complained to the doctor about our financial strain. One daughter constantly on medication was burden enough, let alone 2. I know you're grieving, but what's done is done. Even if Kai rots in prison, the dead can't be brought back to life. With tears in her eyes, Mom asked the doctor for some anti-inflammatory medication before taking me home. Kai's mother, with her characteristic haughtiness, said to my mother in a patronizing tone, I didn't want to end up half-blind with only one eye. Mother remained silent, staring at Kai's deathly pale face for a long while. I sobbed and refused to leave. Kai's parents exchanged glances, their brows furrowing in unison, embarrassed by my behavior. Mom raised her large hand and slapped me hard across the face. The warmth drained from Kai's father's face as he asked coldly, if not money, then what do you want? A sharp pain gave way to a relentless buzzing in my ears. Mother's gaze remained locked on Kai as she gritted her teeth and parted her lips. The outside world's sounds were drowned out by the buzzing, as if trapped beneath an impenetrable glass bell. I want Kai to marry Stella. Gradually, even the buzzing faded into complete silence. When Stella's father was alive, she was his favorite. My eardrum had been perforated. Now that he's gone, I want Kai to take her father's place and care for Stella for the rest of her life. From then on, I became half-deaf and half-blind, a broken thing. I could see Kai's parents' faces turning as sour as a rock in an outhouse, the family's shame. Before Kai's parents could say a word, and shame must be erased, Kai jumped in first. I accept. So after draining the last drop of my worth, they wiped me out without hesitation. Kai eagerly agreed without hesitation. The memory of my tragic end in the previous life ignited a blaze of hatred in my eyes. Kai's parents actually preferred to settle things with money, a second chance. Since Kai and his sister were underage, they had to bring in a lawyer for notarization. I won't make the same mistakes again. If the agreement was breached, Kai's family would have to transfer half of the company's shares to his sister. So when Mom applied that unregulated cosmetic on my sister's face, I didn't intervene like I did last time. After the deal was struck, Kai's parents turned as grim as a thundercloud. Instead, I silently carried my backpack toward the room. The siblings embraced each other in tears, but paused at the doorway. Kai, who came to take care of his sister, listened with gratitude shining in his eyes as his gaze rested warmly upon them. My bedroom had been converted into a study. With their engagement settled, sister was destined to marry into wealth through Kai, too. Don't worry, even if we lose money, you've still got me. Once I marry Kai, do you really think Mom would ever want for anything? My mother cleared her throat, her guilty voice calling after me. Kai generously added his assurance. Auntie, you can rest easy. I'll make sure you're taken care of in your old age. Your sister is a senior in high school and needs her own study space, so we've converted your room into a study. When did Kai join Mom and Sis' skincare routine too? All your belongings have been moved to the storage room. Dove, your mom called. Your sister's dead. In my past life, an accident prevented me from ever reaching this door. Like a madwoman, she kept pounding on Kai, demanding she bring her sister back. I had no idea this was part of the story. Turned out Kai took her sister street racing. Then they got frisky in the car. Midway through, her sister stopped breathing. This was always the smallest and darkest room in the house. Kai's parents arrived quickly and shooed away the nosy neighbors. No, they won't even let me keep this miserable space. Kai's mother stopped the other mom from hitting him. I turned, my icy gaze settling on Mother. In my opinion, both kids were willing. Stella has a heart condition, and Kai's just as devastated by what happened. After 3 beats of silence, a humorless smile touched my lips as I spoke quietly. She was going to be part of our family. We're heartbroken too. Senior year is crucial, so giving up my room for my sister's study space is the right thing to do. I could sense a hint of relief in Kai's mother's words. Mom's gaze drifted away, as if avoiding eye contact with me. With the sister dead, that notarized documents so detrimental to Kai's family naturally became void. Hearing this, her slightly tense posture relaxed as she smiled and said, had it not involved her precious son again, Kai's mom probably would have laughed out loud. That's more like it. Your sister's in her final year with a heart condition. If you make a fuss, you'll just upset her and put your father and me in a tough spot. Even if it did involve Kai, what she said was wrong. Both Kai and his sister are already over 18. With fists and slaps, she and Dad would make me submit. How could that be considered difficult? Kai's father, that sly old fox, played both hardball and softball. I smiled without a word and turned into the cramped storage room. While we're at it, how dare that shameless Stella seduce Kai when our family already approved her joining us? After closing the door, I eagerly opened my book and began studying. The mother relented. Since Stella wasn't destined for this fortune, let Dove be the one to marry into Kai's family instead. Knowledge changes destiny. This is an eternal truth. Kai's father firmly refused. In my past life, I never had such an opportunity. Absolutely not. The Kai family isn't some open market where anyone can waltz in. In this lifetime, nothing can stop my pursuit of learning. How noble of the Kai family. Thank you very much. The storage room is windowless and stuffy. Kai, utterly devoted to his sister, said through tears. After finishing 2 test papers, I opened the door to get some fresh air. Auntie, I won't marry anyone but Stella. As I gripped the doorknob, I overheard Mom's hushed whisper outside. Just as Kai's mother opened her mouth to negotiate, my mom cut her off. 2 lives, Stella's father and Stella herself. 3 million isn't too much to ask, is it? Kai's father, being the decisive man he was, immediately gave his approval. Built like an ox, yet she still has the nerve to fight you for every bite. I saw Kai again. Dad chimed in, lowering his voice. Kai's family still has their eyes on my kidney. Your mom's right. Eat up quick. I sure don't want to share your chicken drumstick with her. Turns out Kai's father shares my rare blood type. Last time I asked her to grab me cigarettes from the store, she refused. Selfish little ingrate. Kai left with flushed cheeks, crestfallen. I nearly burst through the door to argue when I heard that. Dove, name your price. Just agreed to donate a kidney to my dad. You call that taking? Kai's father's condition kept deteriorating. That's straight up stealing. Okay, Kai's mother couldn't hold back anymore, Big Sister said in this understanding tone. Kai's mother was taken away by the police, perhaps because Kai himself was easily forgiven twice. Kai's mother was sentenced to 15 years. Kai's father died without finding a matching kidney donor. Kai went bankrupt. Indeed, one day, I saw a news report about a man named Kai who jumped to his death. I don't deserve it, Dove, you venomous snake with a black heart. After all I've done raising you, how could you treat me this way? If it weren't for my sister's heart condition and Mom and Dad worrying they'd have no one to care for them in old age, I wouldn't even have been born. That's why my parents kept drilling it into me. My sister is my benefactor, and I have to yield to her. Outside the door, our parents kept urging my sister to eat faster. Inside, I turned the doorknob and strode out with my head held high. Mother's smile froze on her face, father flushed with anger, his eyes burning with rage. My sister froze mid-bite of the chicken leg. Her greasy lips pursed in embarrassment. The air suddenly grew so still it felt frozen. For some reason, I found it oddly amusing. It's just a chicken leg, what's the big deal? Acting like it's some miracle cure, really, that necessary. Composed as if oblivious to their awkwardness, I casually visited the restroom before returning to study in the storage room. After the door closed, Dad clicked his tongue twice. The brat didn't even throw a tantrum. She must be sick or something, I smirked coldly. What's there to fuss about? I'm not that naive little fool from my past life who still craved parental affection. 3. After dinner, I was washing dishes in the kitchen. Mom was showing off the herbal cream she snatched from a social media seller to Dad. Honey, you always said these online sellers were scammers. That's why you should trust science. Dad noticed the improvement in my sister's complexion too, nodding repeatedly and praising Mom for her great product choice. He even urged Mom to stock up on more before this amazing product gets a price hike. Mom thought Dad made perfect sense and immediately pulled out her phone to purchase 5 treatment courses. My sister stood by hesitantly, clearly displeased but holding her tongue. Mom was too absorbed in her shopping triumph to notice my sister's reluctance. Hiding her reluctance, my sister beamed like a sunflower in autumn and nestled into Mom's arms, cooing, "Thanks Mom, thanks Dad, when the skincare bomb arrives. Let's use it together, our whole family deserves to glow." Mom grinned from ear to ear, convinced her daughter was the sweetest little fairy in the world. Dad watched her with quiet pride, feeling every sacrifice over the years had been worth it. Only I stood in the kitchen, lips curling with icy bitterness, crystal clear once more. The 3 of them were family. I was merely an outsider. They never treated me as family. After washing the dishes, I returned to the storage room to study. Around 10 o'clock, my sister knocked and came in. She held her phone with an uneasy expression, glanced around the cramped space with a frown, took a few steps and sat down on the single bed, handing me the phone. So my sister knew all along. No wonder I never heard of her using that conditioning cream again after fainting from shock in my past life. Could this cause cancer? I set down my pen, furrowing my brows slightly as I looked at her with a thoughtful expression. Who knows if Baidu search results are reliable? Maybe you should show this to Mom and Dad. Sis, I'm just a middle schooler. This stuff is beyond me. In the past, I would have foolishly charged into battle for my sister whenever something like this happened. So I became the ungrateful black sheep in my parents' eyes. Every time ended with a leather belt special treatment, while my sister remained their perfect little angel. This time, I wasn't there to take the fall. Let's see how my sister decides this time. Her pupils dilated slightly, clearly surprised by my uncharacteristic response. Pretending not to notice the plea in her voice, I lowered my head to focus on my workbook. My sister had no choice but to leave with a heavy heart. The next day, Mother applied another thick layer of medicinal paste on Sister's skin. Sister didn't resist. Then I understood her decision. She chose to suppress her unease and remain the devoted daughter her mother adored. After this application, Sister's acne visibly reduced and her complexion brightened. Sister stood before the mirror, gazing at her reflection repeatedly, perhaps enticed by her noticeably improved appearance. Sister's resistance to the treatment cream seemed to wane. Keeping my eyes glued to the textbook, I absent-mindedly replied, "I don't know much about that, but I can see you've become absolutely gorgeous." The compliment made her beam with delight, deepening her faith in that miracle cream, and so it began. No need for Mom to remind me. I'm proactively asking for a face mask, for I'm back at the little park downstairs again. Heard Mom enthusiastically promoting the conditioning cream to neighbors, her voice loud and full of passion. "It's not that expensive for a full course. For your kid's sake, it's worth giving it a shot. Honestly, this balancing cream's flawless if you can get past the price tag." Knowing her, she's working this hard to skim some profit. My sister's the perfect walking advertisement. People will buy it. Mom padded the bill by $200 per treatment course. Mom came home beaming with the money, happily sharing this windfall with Dad and Sister. "Look at that, just a few casual words and you've made $600. Money comes so easily these days, even Dad thinks it's easy money. It's a shame we can't open a proper store. My sister pondered for a moment, her eyes sparkling as she said, Mom, many classmates have acne problems. Maybe I should discreetly try selling to a close friend first. Once they see results, word will spread and everyone will come to me. Mom thought her daughter was a business prodigy, her crow's feet crinkling like wriggling centipedes as she laughed. Planted a big kiss on my sister's cheek while gushing about her business savvy, calling her my sweet little angel. Not content with recruiting just one downline, they turned to ask me. I'd never peddle this shady stuff. I shook my head. Nobody in our class does. Mom let out a disappointed sigh, looking as if she'd missed out on a fortune. Dad gazed thoughtfully at my sister's lovely face and asked Mom, why don't you put some on me too? Once my skin improves, I'll promote it to my friends. Mom never expected Dad to take the initiative in supporting her career, moved to tears, with one arm around her sister's waist and the other holding Dad's hand. The three of them leaned in together, so heartwarming it makes you can't help but laugh. Who knows how things will turn out when the truth comes to light. I wonder if she'll still be this moved then. My sister came to the storage room at night and pointed at a pimple on my forehead. But Mom said many people have been ordering her herbal paste lately, and she's worried about running out of stock, so she won't give you any for now. I could hear the smugness and provocation in my sister's words. In the past, this would have secretly broken my heart. I might even have ended up arguing with Mom about it, but now all I feel is relief that they never loved me. That's how I managed to grow up safe and sound. 5. Feigning ignorance of my sister's veiled taunt, I gave a cold nod. It's just one pimple, hardly worth treatment, better let Mom keep earning money. Frustrated by my lack of reaction, a flicker of irritation crossed her eyes before she pivoted to another brag. My deskmate joked that I went to Korea for plastic surgery. Lead and mercury deliver potent effects. If these ingredients weren't effective, would cosmetic companies really take such risks using them? I just wonder if my sister ever noticed. Lately she's been experiencing frequent gum bleeding, constant headaches, unexplained hand tremors, overall lethargy, and often zoning out. Her older sister attributed these symptoms to stress, not just the pressure of college entrance exams, but also the strain of a secret teenage romance. After clearing her acne, the fair-skinned beauty of a sister was swiftly claimed by her deskmate who had the advantage of proximity. The two were secretly immersed in their sweet, silly romance. So much so that they completely forgot about selling the medicated ointment. Her acne-prone classmates dodged a bullet too. Our parents were so caught up in get-rich-quick fantasies that they never connected my sister's changes to the medicated cream. Dad became a true believer in the cream after seeing its miraculous effects on my sister's face. My sister applied it once daily. Dad did it twice daily, morning and night. His previously dull complexion soon became radiant and fair, making him look 10 years younger. His dramatic transformation even helped him make some quick cash from his shady friends. Naturally, he gradually began exhibiting the same symptoms as his sister. My parents, intoxicated by how effortlessly money came in, never considered it was the herbal ointment's doing. Everyone assumed it was just Dad burning out from juggling work and pushing that ointment. I'd always thought in this absurd spectacle of cold indifference, either my sister or father would be the first sacrificial lamb. Little did we know she'd be the first lamb led to slaughter. She was father's mistress, perfect figure, delicate features. If only her complexion weren't so sallow. To please his mistress, father secretly bought her skin brightening cream, switched to fancy English-only packaging, claiming it was brought back from abroad by a friend. His sweetheart was a nurse, utterly obsessed with foreign goods. She even thought the moon looked rounder overseas. Couldn't wait to try this prized possession the very same day. Once she started using it, there was no going back. Like clockwork, 3 times a day without fail. And so, 2 months passed. Little Ching was diagnosed with skin cancer. The hospital staff showed special care, arranging a hospital room for her that very day. Dad was utterly heartbroken. Yet had to hide it from Mom and couldn't show his pain. That forced smile of his looked even more pitiful than tears. Seeing this as his daughter twisted my heart in knots too. God, if he's this devastated, why couldn't they just both have gotten cancer together? This breaks my heart as his daughter. One day, my father sneaked off to visit his mistress at the hospital again, only to get caught red-handed by Mom. Mom had always prided herself on keeping Dad firmly under her thumb. Who would have thought Dad would actually cheat on her behind her back? Mom screamed obscenities at the mistress and lunged to scratch her face. Dad stepped in and stopped her. The spineless man who'd cowered before Mom for decades now slapped her twice across the face for his mistress, leaving her swollen like a pig. Mom was utterly heartbroken. She went berserk, kicking and punching her father wildly. The police had to intervene to separate them. The whole scene caused quite a commotion that day. The entire hospital staff learned that their seemingly dedicated colleague was actually someone's home-wrecking mistress, hidden in the crowd. I watched my father's mistress cower under everyone's scornful gazes, her head bowed as if wishing to disappear. I nodded in grim satisfaction at her complete social ruin. My efforts weren't wasted. I'd specifically lured Mom to the hospital to witness Dad's lover's downfall. Oh, how I care for Dad's little mistress, more than he ever did, after all. I ended up so miserably in my past life. This person also contributed significantly. 6. Perhaps because my first enemy is about to cross the river of death. I haven't dreamed once since being reborn. Had a dream the night after leaving the hospital. Dreamed of my tragic, short-lived past life sinking in quicksand. In my past life, after becoming half-deaf and one-eyed, my parents were ashamed of me bringing them disgrace, so they pulled me out of school. They claimed I needed family support after such a major life upheaval. Then they abandoned their 15-year-old daughter in the countryside to fend for myself. I refused. I wept. I rebelled. All I got was Dad's fists and Mom's slaps. Dad raised his fist and snarled, "You think I can hold my head high in the streets if people find out I've got a half-deaf, one-eyed daughter?" Mom swung her hand, eyes wide with fury. "Your sister has a weak heart. She can't handle shocks. That eye of yours will terrify her. You black-hearted wretch, you'd gladly scare your sister to death just to hog the family fortune." The beating was too much to bear. I'm done with this, nor did I want to be branded as the greedy relative scheming for the family fortune, and so, I gave in, sent back to the rural hometown, lived in 3 dilapidated tiled houses, left to fend for myself, never set foot in the city again. What began as a leave of absence turned into permanent dropout. At first, they'd give me $200 or $300 for living expenses each month, but that only lasted half a year before they stopped completely. I called to ask for it several times. They'd always promise it over the phone, but the moment we hung up, the money never came. That's when I knew they saw me as nothing but a burden. Not a single penny will come my way again. I learned vegetable gardening from the granny next door and became self-sufficient. Also picked up collecting recyclables for pocket money. Winter fades into spring, with lush grass and warbling orioles. 5 years slipped away in my dim, hazy world of half-light and half-clarity. I thought this would be my life forever. Then in the 6th year, my parents brought me back to the city. Father smiled warmly, Mom spoke in a gentle voice. My sister even let me wear her favorite pink dress. I thought 5 years had softened their hearts. They finally remembered I was family, willing to share a little warmth with me. Turned out to be nothing but their honeyed lies to numb me. Behind the false affection lies an exchange of interests. They want me to donate a kidney to my sister's boyfriend's father. I won't accept that. Now I only have one eye and one ear left. Surely they can't leave me with just one kidney too. They tore off the veil of kindness, locked me up, and forced me to agree. My mother pleaded with me in a hoarse voice. "Your sister is your own flesh and blood. If she marries into wealth, even a cripple like you will have someone to rely on. Losing a kidney won't kill you, but it will destroy your sister's chance to marry into money. You've always been sensible. Don't ruin your sister's big opportunity at this critical moment." Father threatened me with bloodshot eyes. "We gave you life and raised you. Every inch of your flesh and blood belongs to us. Asking for just one kidney is already letting you off easy. If you refuse today, I'll beat you to death. See if I don't." My sister knelt on the ground, sobbing and begging me. She then kowtowed to me, trying to guilt-trip me into submission, but 5 years in the countryside had long chilled the fire in my veins. I refused without the slightest hesitation. My parents despised me as a heartless, ungrateful wretch. They cursed at me and beat me black and blue. When I refused to give in, they drugged me. When I came to, I found one of my kidneys was gone. My sister got her wish and married into a wealthy family. Our parents received a fortune because of it. As the kidney donor, I was left with nothing but a broken body. I won't accept losing a kidney like this. I'm taking them to court. On my way to the police station, my parents caught up with me. When Dad realized he couldn't stop me, he actually ran me over. The drugs that knocked me out were supplied by Dad's mistress. 7. Dad's mistress was undergoing a series of chemotherapy treatments. She died anyway. Dad was utterly heartbroken, wailing like he'd lost his wife. At least he'd already fallen out with Mom, so he didn't have to fake smiles anymore. Let the tears flow freely. Mom threw her head back, laughing joyfully amidst Dad's tears. The clash of laughter and sobs, nature's eternal battle of the sexes, reignited. After knocking Mom unconscious, Dad stormed out and slammed the door. My lover always loved me quietly. Dad never came back after walking out that day. Chasing after his mistress, he descended into the underworld. Dad's dead, hit by a car. Mom took me and my sister to identify the body. Dad was mangled beyond recognition, a bloody mess. Just like my past life, he had no particular hobbies, just a passion for street racing, and that's how he accidentally ran over his dazed father. I swear it wasn't on purpose. The car was coming but he just stood there frozen, like a man possessed. In the mediation room, their mother remained dry-eyed, her face dark and unreadable. I hung my head low to hide my dry, tearless face. "So I propose we settle this privately. We'll compensate you as best we can. What amount would you consider fair? From what I know, your husband was having an affair before he died. A man like that isn't even as reliable as money. Besides, my son isn't even 18 yet, even if he's sentenced. It won't be too severe. Let's settle this privately before it blows up, otherwise you won't get a single penny out of this." My sister anxiously tugged at Mother's sleeve, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "Mom." I could hear the desperate plea in her voice. Mother seemed to wrestle with herself for a moment before speaking wearily. "I don't want your money." Their life experience told them one undeniable truth: when money can't solve a problem, that's when real trouble begins. "I want him." "That's not too much to ask, is it?" I saw my sister's clenched fist gradually relax. "No jail time, plus marrying the girl he loves. It's a win-win deal." But Mom insisted on having the person, and their simple-minded son had already consented. They had no choice but to comply. His mother didn't look particularly pleased either, a bittersweet reunion of star-crossed lovers finally finding their happy ending. I wonder what our late father would feel seeing this scene. He must be smiling down from heaven. He once again helped his beloved daughter marry into wealth. The difference is, in the past life, it cost me a kidney. This time, it'll cost him his bones. 8. Signed the settlement agreement, notarized the document. Father's body was immediately taken to the crematorium. 2 hours later, Father was reduced to an urn. On the day of the funeral, people asked how Dad had died. I remained silent. Mom and my sister answered in unison that he'd drunk himself to death in a fall. Only I know the real cause of Dad's death, symptoms triggered by that medicinal ointment. His passing was like a single drop dissolving into the ocean depths, washed away in an instant, leaving no trace behind. She's become increasingly meticulous about her appearance. She applies the conditioning cream without holding back. What was once a daily routine became twice daily. Mother seemed to realize her new status as the mother-in-law of an affluent young master, started working on self-improvement. Step 1. Using herbal balm regularly. Step 2. Getting serious about making money. Mom's small-scale balm sales can no longer satisfy her money-making ambitions. She decided to go all out and make things happen. She withdrew the entire family savings of over 300,000 yuan, 200,000 went toward inventory purchases, over 100,000 was spent on rent and renovations. Mom spent all her money and started feeling uneasy. My sister hugged Mom tightly and reassured her confidently. Mother smiled, as if seeing her future as a wealthy matriarch draped in gold and finery. She grew bolder, even taking loans to expand inventory and investments. After all, her wealthy son-in-law would provide for her retirement. What was she afraid of? One weekend, I emerged from the storage room to find 3 statues slathered in thick facial masks sitting rigidly on the couch. My lip twitched involuntarily. Mom was trying to show her maternal affection in front of her future son-in-law. She offered to apply some medicinal ointment on me. I bolted in fright and enrolled in boarding school the very next day. Mom's perfectly content as long as she has my sister and her fiancé around. She never cared about her unlikable daughter anyway. In fact, she preferred me boarding at school, spared her the trouble of pretending to be a doting mother in front of her future son-in-law, so she agreed without a second thought. 2 weeks into my boarding school life, when I was completely absorbed in studying, the homeroom teacher called me outside with a grave expression. I lowered my head in silence, thinking I was overwhelmed with grief. The teacher patted my head and sighed softly. "Let me walk you home." I declined the homeroom teacher's offer and went home alone. Unlike Mom's silent grief when Dad passed away, my sister's death drove Mom to madness. Beating him to death won't change anything. "How do you propose we handle this?" Death extinguishes life like a snuffed candle. 9. His parents were much calmer this time, compared to running over Dad or dying from forbidden fruit with Sis. How could this possibly count as murder? Sis had a weak heart. That wasn't exactly a secret. If this drags on, it's hard to say whether any charges would even stick. If you insist on calling the police, I'm ready to see this through. Let's handle this quietly and properly behind closed doors. Even Mom agrees it's best to settle sister's matter privately. Things blew up. The shame still falls on her. Her husband had an affair. Her daughter played with fire and got herself killed. If word gets out, she'll lose all dignity. Her words nearly struck me like lightning. Even after sacrificing her beloved daughter, she still clings to her delusions of becoming a wealthy mother-in-law, far beyond my humble reach. Mom's still clinging to that mother-in-law of a tycoon fantasy. Seeing her future son-in-law's unwavering love for her daughter, the mother sighed and let go of her reservations, turning instead to serious negotiations. $3 million. The wealthy family had deep pockets, and the money transfer happened at lightning speed. The mother, having received the money, signed the letter of forgiveness once again. With a heart full of sorrow, she arranged her sister's funeral. The death of her sister hit their mother extremely hard. She spent her days weeping over every meal. She cried her eyes out. Anyone who saw her would sigh, "How pitiful." The poor mother emerged from her grief before her eyes truly failed her. With no wealthy daughter or son-in-law to support her, she resolved to become the wealthy matriarch herself. Mom started dolling herself up again, wearing her most floral dress, applying the boldest makeup, and slathering on the thickest layer of her miracle cream. She stood in front of the rented storefront, stopping every passerby to enthusiastically promote her trusted skincare formula. She became her own billboard, displaying daily progress photos at the entrance so customers could witness her skin transformation firsthand. Mom was a natural-born entrepreneur. She even mastered live streaming. To gain online traction, she exploited her father and sister's misfortunes as sob stories to fish for sympathy, attracting an audience prone to emotional appeals. When netizens raised concerns about the safety of the medicinal balm, her mother went all out, scooping up the balm and eating it outright. Overnight, the safe, edible balm became a viral sensation. Mom's shop suddenly became a huge hit. The previous stock sold out in no time. Fortunately, Mom was prepared and restocked in bulk through social media sellers. This time, Mom went even bigger. $1 million in goods payment was wired directly to the micro-business account. Just as Mom was basking in dreams of joining high society, someone reported her. Mom got hauled into the police station. The shop got shut down too. At the police station, my mother said to the female officer conducting the interrogation, "Officer, your skin looks dull and sallow. If you use my restorative cream, I guarantee your complexion will become radiant and smooth within 2 weeks." Even at this moment, Mom remained utterly devoted to her miracle cream. She thought the police had made a mistake and wrongfully arrested her. 10. The female officer was speechless at the mother's obsession with that remedial cream. That so-called remedial cream in your mouth contains dangerous levels of lead and mercury. It's not a remedy, it's cancer-causing poison at its current concentration of heavy metals. Using it just once daily would likely cause cancer within about 6 months, naturally. Increased frequency would accelerate the onset of cancer. We've analyzed the application frequency for both your husband and eldest daughter, concluding their deaths were directly caused by the carcinogenic cream. Mother shook her head in denial, desperately making excuses. No, my husband died in a collision, and my daughter's heart condition relapsed due to her improper lifestyle choices. To make her case more convincing to the female officer, she used herself as an example. "Officer, if this ointment really caused cancer, how come I'm standing here perfectly healthy?" The officer informed my mother that the station had arranged a hospital appointment and was taking her for examination. Police medical cooperation with priority access. The test results will be out soon. No surprise there. Mom has cancer too, mid-stage skin cancer. Mom's hands trembled like autumn leaves as she clutched the report, her eyes wide with shock at the test results. She couldn't believe her own eyes. How could this be? This isn't right. This can't be happening. Mom couldn't accept that she was the one who had caused Dad and sister's deaths. She couldn't come to terms with her cancer diagnosis. But science left no room for self-deception. Under overwhelming shock, she's gone mad. The police committed her to a psychiatric hospital. The online sellers supplying the goods were arrested, leading authorities to track down the factory producing carcinogenic ointments. It wasn't even a proper factory, just a makeshift workshop. Forget production permits, they didn't even have basic sanitation licenses. All involved were arrested and sentenced according to the severity of their offenses. They all got sent to work the sewing machines. As for those carcinogenic creams that were sold, the police tracked them down and had them all destroyed. Mom's clients were lucky they hadn't been using it for long. After the medical checkups, some people were found to have various health issues. Fortunately, no cancer patients emerged. The weight finally lifted from my heart. Ever since my rebirth, I've feared my negligence might harm others. Thankfully, fortune favors the simple-hearted. I won't carry that guilt into my future. The police transferred all $2 million from Mom's account and the recovered $1 million in payments to my name. With the officer's help, I refunded the buyers and provided fair compensation. After handling everything, I was left with over $1.8 million. I asked the policewoman for help and donated $1.5 million to the medical team researching skin cancer cures. Now I'm the only one left in this house. I moved my little bed back from the storage room to its original place. A dozen chicken drumsticks I bought were placed by the bedside. Lying in bed, gnawing on a chicken drumstick, as the savory flavor filled my mouth, suddenly I realized my previous understanding was wrong. Chicken legs truly are a cure-all. It mends wounded souls and soothes weary bodies. As the aroma of meat comforted my stomach, my smoky past settled into peace. The curses, the accusations, the brutal beatings, the soul-crushing torment, all now fade away from me. My long-imprisoned soul bursts forth into vibrant freedom. I rose and stepped out of the room, my gaze swept across the empty living room. A quiet smile gradually warmed my eyes. So this is the bittersweet taste of solitude, utterly undisturbed. That's awesome. 11. The police department is going to commend me, because they found out I was the whistleblower. I refused. I told them I'd delayed reporting it due to personal concerns. I'm already ashamed enough. How could I possibly accept any reward? The policewoman thought my inner conflict was between family ties and the law. Instead of scolding me, she actually comforted me. She said I'd been very brave and was such a righteous kid. They said I broke free from the shackles of family ties and saved many lives. Saved. That word set my heart racing. I think I know what to do next. Back to school again. I pushed myself even harder, practically forgetting to eat and sleep. My homeroom teacher was so concerned that she practically took over managing my daily needs. The policewoman would often visit me on behalf of her colleagues at the station. I lost my family in name only, but gained far more beyond blood ties. Love and warmth make one invincible. I've been unstoppable ever since. Top scorer in the high school entrance exam, national college entrance exam champion. My life is filled with roses at every turn, while others walk through paths of thorns. After the college entrance exams ended, ridiculously, he came to discuss marrying me. The price remained the same, donating a kidney to his father. After 2 lifetimes of twists and turns, finding a compatible kidney donor is nearly impossible. After learning my blood type, they set their sights on me again. Even when I was at rock bottom in my past life, I wouldn't part with my kidney, let alone now. When I'm riding high on success, I refused without hesitation. Didn't you swear to love only my sister and marry no one else? Yet he returned the very next day. I chased him out with a broom, yet he kept coming back again and again. I kept driving him away each time. She lured me into a meeting, drugged my water, and knocked me unconscious. I knew she was trying to replay the events of our past life. Too bad for her. I'm no longer that helpless wretch with nobody to rely on. I'd already contacted the police officer. He even knelt and begged me to issue a letter of forgiveness. My reply to him, fuck off. Without its cunning old fox at the helm, the company was quickly devoured by competitors in the business world. He moved from the Villa district into a rented apartment. I wonder if it was him. I wouldn't bother prying into insignificant people's affairs. 12. Beneath the glory of being the top scorer in the national college entrance exams, everyone expected me to choose Tsinghua or Peking University, yet I opted for the combined bachelor's master's doctoral program at the medical university. I became a doctor, specializing in melanoma treatment. My first research patient was my mother, the only family I had left in this world. I must keep her alive, even if it's a living hell. After 3 months as my lab rat, Mother could no longer feign madness and begged me to end her suffering. Yes, Mother is pretending to be insane, to evade legal punishment. I could tell Mom was feigning madness even back then, but I never exposed her act. I figured being confined to a mental institution was worse punishment for Mom than prison. I wonder if the policewoman noticed. Not sure if those policemen spotted it either. Maybe they're thinking the same thing as me. To develop a breakthrough treatment for skin cancer, I conducted numerous experimental drug trials on my mother. She suffered terribly from the side effects of these new medications. Her arms were covered with needle marks. She lost all her hair. Her skin was covered in festering sores. Her digestive tract had deteriorated, leaving her unable to eat normally. Her excretory tract was blocked, preventing normal bowel movements, causing her abdomen to swell like a balloon. Night after night, she writhed in agony on the hospital bed, screaming like a slaughtered pig. How could I ever agree to let Mom die? I immediately refused Mom's request to end her life. After my refusal, Mom attempted suicide. She kept trying to take her own life. Time and again, I brought her back from the brink. This cycle repeated endlessly. Death was never the true vengeance. A living hell, that's the real punishment. Mom was in such agony she coughed up blood, screaming curses at me, day and night. The hospital echoed with her venomous shouts against me. She'd grab anyone in sight, accusing me of heartless cruelty, but she forgot. She's insane. Nobody believed her. Later on, experimental drug trials became increasingly frequent. Mom's adverse reactions kept getting worse. Her vision was impaired, and her left eye gradually lost sight. Her hearing was also affected by adverse reactions, leaving her deaf in the right ear. Mom became half-deaf and one-eyed, just like in my past life. Perhaps this was her comeuppance. Mother endured this living hell for another decade, made immortal contributions to my skin cancer research. With her dying breath, in a final surge of consciousness, she glared at me accusingly. Mother only ever remembers what serves her interests. All she recalls is giving me life and raising me. but she's forgotten why she brought me into this world, forgot how to raise me, forgot that having me was just to create a healthy retirement tool, forgot that nurturing requires love's nourishment. In her heart, I was never a child, just a tool. Now she actually dares to ask why her retirement support would treat her this way. Haven't I provided for her properly all these years, even if I wanted to deny this accusation? Every colleague in this hospital would vouch for my character. I've pulled her back from the brink of suicide over 100 times. What kind of daughter would be this desperate to keep her mother alive? She didn't wait for my answer, died with unfinished business. Poor thing didn't even get to close her eyes. With a stony face, I handled the funeral arrangements for my mother, whose eyes remained wide open in death. Then I locked myself in the lab and didn't set foot outside for half a month. Everyone assumed I was utterly heartbroken over losing my last family member, needing experiments to mend my shattered soul. Little did they know I was compiling research to treat my mother's skin cancer. 2 weeks later, I walked out of the lab and stepped onto the glorious path of my life's greatest achievement. I've conquered skin cancer. That same year, I was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine, becoming the youngest laureate in history, at the pinnacle of my glory. I found myself genuinely thanking my mother for the first time. Without her being my guinea pig, the shining star before you today wouldn't exist. No miracle cure has yet been developed to save millions of skin cancer patients. Standing by the office window with a coffee cup in hand, I sighed. Even waste can be repurposed to benefit humanity. A starry night glittered beyond the window. As with the rest of my life, the end. Story 2. I was the most prized princess of the Dragon Clan. Yet at the royal spouse selection ceremony, I shocked everyone by choosing a lowly crow slave with feeble cultivation. My parents were hopping mad, secretly cursing my disgraceful choice, but only I knew that Cade, the phoenix our clan so admired, was truly rotten to the core. In my past life, after forming a bond with Cade, I gave him my undivided devotion. Yet he scorned me for failing to bear children while secretly carrying on with my cousin Tempest. When Tempest's pregnancy could no longer be concealed, he finally resolved to orchestrate my demise. Little did he know, as a reawakened primordial dragon, our childlessness stemmed from his unworthy bloodline. When my eyes reopened, I found myself back at the suitor selection ceremony, before the assembled crowd, my finger pointed decisively behind him. One, as my finger pointed toward him again. The jade-faced man in brocade robes flashed a look of disgust before boldly turning his gaze to my cousin Tempest. Phoenix Cade wishes to form a marital bond with Dragon Clan's third princess, Tempest of the Azure Dragon lineage. The declaration left the entire hall in stunned silence. Though the Phoenix and Dragon Clans possessed profound cultivation, their fertility remained low. To strengthen their bloodlines, the two ancient clans had agreed a millennium ago to intermarry with other races. To ensure the purity of our bloodline, only those with the highest cultivation or purest lineage are eligible to be chosen as consorts, yet everyone in both clans knows Cade was the groom my father personally selected for me. Had he truly objected, he could have spoken sooner, but to publicly renounce his pledge on the very day of selection, this is nothing less than a slap to our Dragon Clan's dignity. As expected, Father erupted in fury. Outrageous. What do you Phoenixes take our Dragon Clan for? A marketplace where you casually pick and choose brides. The eastern sky darkened under Father's influence, with thunderclouds gathering and lightning crackling. Seeing Father's expression darken, Cade immediately knelt before both clans and pleaded earnestly. The Phoenix Dragon marriage tradition has always followed fate's decree. My heart belongs to Princess Tempest of the Azure Dragons. I beg the Dragon Patriarch's blessing. At these words, the Dragon Elders' faces turned stormy. Though Uncle Third and Cousin Tempest had secret smiles, in previous years, only after the eldest princesses chose their consorts would others have their turn. Among the younger generation of the Phoenix clan, Cade possessed the highest cultivation, yet he rejected me and chose the normally reticent Azure Dragon princess instead. Third uncle got an undeserved windfall. Who wouldn't be delighted in his place? But this time, I must say their celebration was premature. The Dragonkin have always been prideful bloodline purists. Cade's decision wasn't just a slap to Father and me, it humiliated our entire dragon lineage. Father's face darkened further as spiritual energy gathered ominously in his palm, ready to strike. Before the Phoenix Elder could speak, Third Uncle stepped forward to intervene. Elder brother, yen love is hard to restrain, since Cade has set his heart on our Tempest, who is after all a dragon princess. This match isn't improper. Why such fury? Third Uncle's joy over the proposed marriage had clearly clouded his judgment. The moment Cade refused, this ceased to be a simple betrothal and became a clash between two great clans. Not only is he blind to the obvious, but he's even siding with outsiders against his own. Cade smiled and said, Uncle Long is right. My affection for Tempest isn't unreasonable. Why shouldn't I form a bond with her? Besides, the young princess is spoiled and unruly, far inferior to the Azure Dragon princess. As the Phoenix clan's finest, I naturally seek a bond with someone who truly suits me. I find the third Princess Tempest most agreeable to my heart. Cade's honeyed words made Cousin Tempest blush crimson, while I sat rigidly at the head of the table, sick to my stomach. Would he have chosen my inferior cousin if he didn't believe me barren? In our past life, when father arranged the marriage, both Phoenix and Dragon clans rejoiced. Cade raised no objection, and we shared years of marital harmony after our bonding ceremony, yet within mere 28 years, he'd secretly seduced that precious cousin of mine. By the time I discovered their affair, her belly had already swelled with child. Cornered, the pair chose annihilation over shame, slipping spirit-dissolving powder into my meals. They ambushed and imprisoned me, flayed my scales and tendons, draining my dragon blood to nourish the child in my cousin's womb. His words from that day still pierce my flesh like a dagger, their venom undimmed across 2 lifetimes. Don't blame me, Onyx. What use is a dragon princess who can't even bear an heir after 20 years? Tempest and I share true affection she conceived within months. As my wife, surely you'll gladly aid your husband with your dragon's blood. 2. The agony of being skinned alive still lingers. I shake my head, pulling myself back from the memories. The clan leader was still locked in a standoff with the Phoenix tribe. On the verge of losing control, I tugged gently at Father's sleeve and sent a mental message. Father, rather than arguing with them, we should demand compensation. The Phoenix tribe's primordial nectar would serve us well. A single drop of Phoenix nectar takes a decade to form, capable of purging impurities and reforging one's essence. Father furrowed his brows. But, I winked at Father, and seeing I was unharmed, he gave a slight nod. What, you dare covet our Phoenix clan's sacred treasure, the Phoenix stone? Such audacity! Hearing Father speak, the Phoenix elder erupted in rage, taking flight as sparks spewed from his mouth. Cade, who had just been kneeling in tender confession, now raised his head with a glimmer in his eyes. It's merely a marriage proposal to exchange princesses. Surely the Dragon Lord, in his magnanimity, wouldn't fuss over such trivial matters. Wouldn't you agree? The phrasing was cunning. If Father dismissed it lightly, it'd signal the Dragon clan could be trampled upon by anyone hereafter. Should Father take offense, all realms would know the Dragonkin as petty and intolerant. But this move backfired. My father was the most fearless troublemaker in the Dragon clan back in the day, and he immediately called them out without hesitation. It's barely been a millennium since our clans began intermarrying, and already your Phoenix Juniors dare to publicly humiliate the Dragon clan. Given a few more years, will you be stomping us underfoot? If there's no compensation today, I'll take this as deliberate provocation, a declaration of war. Cade had never seen such a scene and froze on the spot. After much back and forth, the Phoenix elders finally settled the matter by offering a full vial of primordial spirit dew as compensation. Not only did they secure the third princess's hand in marriage, but they also had to compensate with the spirit dew. Now, the Phoenix elders glared at Cade with undisguised contempt. Third uncle was grinning from ear to ear, eagerly pushing Tempest toward Cade with childlike enthusiasm. As she passed by, my cousin Tempest gloated like she'd struck gold, sneering, "So what if you're nobler than me? Even the Phoenix clan's young lord won't give you a second glance." I pressed my lips together, putting on a heartbroken facade while secretly laughing my head off inside. In his youth, third uncle was quite the womanizer, but when he finally wanted to settle down, his dragon root had lost its vigor. Left with no choice, he married a fertile spider spirit who bore him just this one offspring, my cousin. I died too young in my past life to see the show. This time, I'll keep my eyes wide open to watch what happens when my knockoff Azure Dragon cousin meets that low-born Phoenix Cade. Will they spawn spiders, or perhaps, more spiders? 3. That damned Phoenix must have taken offense earlier, because now he's circling back to pick a fight with me. Princess Onyx, I'm deeply honored by your affection, but my heart already belongs to another, and I must regretfully decline your generous offer. The moment these words were spoken, the gathered beastkin immediately resumed their gossipy, teasing expressions. A fleeting smirk flashed across the Phoenix elder's face. My eyes crinkled with amusement as I pointed behind Cade. "Many thanks, young lord, though you seem mistaken. The one I chose was actually that person over there." All eyes followed my finger to a raven slave holding a tray behind Cade, sending gasps through the banquet hall. Cade flushed with humiliation. "What's the meaning of this, Princess Onyx? Are you implying I'm beneath even a raven slave?" Look at him getting all worked up. How pathetic. My smile vanished as I demanded angrily, "What's the meaning of this, young master of the Phoenix clan? Across all realms, countless demon beasts exist with varying cultivation levels. Since when do we judge by bloodline superiority? We dragons respect strength but never belittle the weak. If young Master Cade could choose our third princess, surely I'm entitled to consider the Crow tribe." Infusing my voice with spiritual energy, my words carried undeniable authority. drawing cheers from the smaller tribes watching from a distance. Truly, the dragonkin are extraordinary, even their princess is raised with such noble grace. As the eastern skies cleared, father stroked his beard and cast me an approving glance, his eyes brimming with admiration. Seeing no advantage to gain, Cade shot me a venomous glare. How magnanimous of the princess, my petty mind pales in comparison. No doubt you'll breed exceptional offspring with this crow-slave. I recognized his mockery. In our past life, despite years of marriage, my womb remained barren, prompting Cade to summon the clan's priest, who declared me infertile. Little did he know, I carry ancestral blood. While my appearance mirrors common dragons, my lineage rivals the primordial dragon itself, with Cade's diluted phoenix essence, diluted over who knows how many generations. It'd take him at least 49 years to impregnate me. Spare yourself the concern, young master, you'd do better to mind your own affairs. With a wave, I summoned the crow servant, then cast a meaningful glance at Cousin Tempest's belly. I wonder if he'll still be grinning about fertility blessings when my dear cousin births him a whole brood of spiderlings. The raven slave I pointed at shuffled forward trembling. Father wore a stern expression while third uncle recklessly quipped, "Tisk." Even if the Phoenix Prince didn't fancy onyx, that's no reason to settle for some nameless crow. At third uncle's words, he jerked his head up and whispered faintly as a mosquito's hum, "I'm no crow, I have a name, Lucius." I stared in surprise, but he'd already lowered his head again. After I chose my mate, several eligible dragon maidens swiftly selected their long-admired partners from various clans. The magic array activated as I held Lucius' hand. Joining the dragon maidens and forming soul bonds with our partners, thunder roared its approval as the heavenly Tao bore witness. Our covenant was sealed. There's just one thing I don't understand. Normally during a heavenly covenant, both partners should receive spiritual energy feedback from each other. In my past life, Cade's cultivation advanced by a minor realm after we bonded. In this life, my cousin's cultivation has advanced by a major realm. The other dragon maidens and their partners also experienced varying degrees of progress in their cultivation. Puzzled, I turned to look at the bowing Lucius while carefully sensing the burning soul contract in my chest. "Why haven't we made the slightest progress in our cultivation?" Cade sneered sarcastically while tugging at his cousin's sleeve. Princess Onyx's composure is truly beyond my reach. Not even a ripple when two bonded cultivators show zero progress in their cultivation. How impressive. Haha, his cousin tittered behind her hand. So what if she's the crown princess? She still ended up with that unwanted crow demon. In my childhood, I scoured ancient texts and learned there are only two scenarios where a cultivation bond shows no visible phenomenon. Either the cultivator's power levels differ too drastically, or they're nearly equal in strength. I gently hooked my pinky with Lucius's, but the timid boy still refused to meet my gaze. Well, given the circumstances, I suppose. Never mind, at least my pure lineage ensures the child won't turn out too dreadful. For the betrothal ceremony concluded, Cousin Tempest departed for the Phoenix clan with Cade, while the crow Lucius took residence in the Dragon clan. Father always maintains composure before outsiders, but now he's stomping in fury, alternating between scolding and lamenting. "Child, why on earth would you choose a crow? Even with your pure bloodline, you can't possibly choose a crow. Your mother wants a fair and handsome grandchild. If you pick some crow spirit, we'll end up with a pitch-black cold ball of a baby, then we'll really catch hell for it." Watching father pace anxiously, I tried to reassure him. "Don't worry, Dad. Didn't mother just return to the celestial realm to visit family? She won't be back for at least 5 or 8 years." By the time I returned to my room after father's scolding, the moon hung high in the midnight sky, with Lucius following silently behind me, passing through the mulberry grove. His shadow cast by the moonlight strangely appeared to have 3 legs. Upon closer inspection, it returned to normal, perhaps just a trick of the light. An awkward silence hung in the air. I broke the stillness first. "My apologies, the ceremony was urgent. I didn't consider your situation. If you're unwilling, stay with our clan until the trouble passes. I'll escort you back to the Phoenix tribe myself." Lucius hesitated mid-step. "My princess, I'm honored, but my cultivation is meager. I fear I'm unworthy of you." Turning to take his hand, I laughed. "Sincerity outweighs status. You're worthy if your heart is true." Lucius suddenly looked up, and before I could react, our eyes met. Stunned for a moment, I then said, "Lucius, you should hold your head high. Those golden eyes of yours deserve to be seen, not hidden away." Time flew by in the blink of an eye. 3 years had passed when third uncle proudly announced joyous news to the clan. "Our Tempest is expecting." Counting the days, it's indeed quite similar to my previous life. A clansman congratulated. "Really? Congratulations, you're about to have a Phoenix grandchild." Third uncle became even more delighted. The most obvious change was that he no longer glared at me, but instead walked past my door repeatedly with visible joy. But third uncle's happiness didn't last long. The next time I saw him, He was back to glaring at me again. I inquired among the clan and learned that Tempest's life in the Phoenix tribe had been far from easy. The Phoenix King resented her for causing the loss of a vial of spiritual dew even before their bonding ceremony. Sensing the king's disdain, others treated her coldly as well. Cade never cared for her in the first place. He was only interested in her womb, let alone standing up for her. Tempest struggled to survive in the Phoenix tribe, and this hardship only eased after she became pregnant. The Phoenix King and Queen placed great hopes on her child, promising Cade that he would become the next Phoenix King if she bore a gifted heir. Cade was overjoyed, pampering his cousin with endless care, showering her chamber with precious elixirs and magical herbs like they were mere trifles, yet the outcome matched my expectations, unsurprisingly. My cousin gave birth to a nest of spiderlings. The Phoenix King and Queen flew into a rage, selecting another phoenix from their clan to groom a successor. 5. Though he killed me in our past life, I lack proof in this incarnation. Acting recklessly now might spark war between our clans. Learning about their current situation and seeing them punished finally gave me a sense of vindication. To my shock, Cade actually dared to infiltrate the dragon clan. Just as I raised my guard, I saw him charging at me. In that critical moment, I summoned my spiritual energy and threw a devastating punch. Cade spat blood as he staggered up from the ground, glaring at me with a twisted expression. You knew all along, didn't you? You knew all along that Tempest was descended from spider demons. You set me up on purpose, didn't you? I stood my ground and answered with undisguised contempt. Don't flatter yourself. That Tempest is the offspring of a spider demon and third uncle. It's common knowledge, everyone knows that. You just couldn't be bothered to ask around. Don't pin this on me. Cade's face turned pale again and again as he protested weakly. But in the previous life, I picked up the thread and voiced the question weighing on his mind. But didn't the clan physician detect the phoenix vein in our past life? Why don't you ask Dragon Tempest how fetal meridians are actually measured? And while you're at it, check the ancient texts. Why did Dragon Tempest demand you nourish our child with my dragon's blood last incarnation? Indeed, in my past life, it wasn't Cade who wanted my dragon's blood. To be precise, Tempest demanded my dragon's blood, and Cade did the deed. What does it matter? Just a pair of despicable lovers. Cade's face cycled through expressions as he muttered, impossible, how could this be? Then stumbled forward unsteadily. I turned my head toward the eaves. Lucius emerged slowly from behind the pillar. Princess, you know him. Did he hurt you? Lucius paused for a moment before slowly embracing me, whispering in my ear, Princess, I'd never harm you. Stay away from him from now on. Just stay with me. The words sounded childish, yet they inexplicably warmed my heart. He might be a bit simple-minded, but treats me genuinely well. At nightfall, Lucius returned freshly bathed from the spring, nuzzling against me with puppy-like affection, catching him by the wrist with gentle resistance. I saw tears welling in Lucius' eyes. You still have feelings for him, don't you? That's why you're pushing me away. Gazing steadily into his eyes, I brushed away the teardrop at his lashes. No, I'm afraid you'll regret it. I'd never regret it. You chose me, you're responsible for me now. The brocade curtains fell as whispered endearments grew fervent. By the light of silver candles that burned through the night, every intimate detail appeared exquisite until dawn broke in silence. At first light, Lucius had already groomed himself and was kneeling obediently by the bedside. When I awoke to find him there, my cheeks burned with sudden heat. After Cade fled back to the Phoenix clan, he vanished without a trace, and no word of Tempest ever reached the Dragon clan again. 6. Third uncle crouched in the grand hall wailing like a banshee. She's my only daughter. Her marriage into the Phoenix clan was meant to strengthen our alliance. She's one of our dragon clan, our people's greatest benefactor. How could you abandon her like this? The shamelessness of third uncle's words was staggering. The whole clan knew he and Tempest had coveted the Phoenix clan's power, but he was right about one thing, Tempest was dragon clan. If she truly went missing, even father would have to send scouts under the clan's pressure. Father dispatched 2 dragon envoys to investigate the Phoenix clan. Third uncle rolled his eyes in dissatisfaction, but when the elders slammed the table in protest, he shrank back and quieted down. For the moment, strangely enough, neither of the dispatched dragon envoys returned. Third uncle stirred up trouble again, prompting father to send another group, yet none came back either. Sensing something amiss, father summoned me and the elders at midnight. The Phoenix clan's prolonged silence suggests trouble. With our scouts missing, I must investigate personally. The elders conferred in hushed tones until the third elder objected. The dragon clan cannot be without its chief. Let this old man investigate instead. The fourth elder quipped with irreverence. Why should the third elder go? Who'll mind the home front? A lone wolf like me is better suited for reconnaissance. The elders whispered among themselves, tugging at sleeves and trouser legs like conspiring schoolchildren. I interjected abruptly, I'll go. I've been there before, I know the terrain. Father froze. When did you ever visit the Phoenix clan? I shot him a cold glance, and he fell silent. The elders tried to argue further, but I'd already turned and walked out the gate, Lucius shadowing me as faithfully as ever. I'm going to the Phoenix clan, I'll go with you. The Phoenix clan isn't safe right now. That's all right, neither am I. Back then I was still puzzled by what Lucius meant by unsafe, until I witnessed what happened next. After 2 lifetimes, I set foot again on Phoenix clan territory, only to find the vast ancestral grounds eerily deserted. 7. The air carried a faint metallic tang of blood. Lucius and I advanced cautiously until reaching the central plaza, where my cousin Tempest's mocking voice suddenly rang out. Look how the precious crown princess has fallen into my hands after all. Raising my eyes, I saw Tempest devoid of any draconic aura, just a monstrous, hideous spider looming in the distance. I gasped. What happened to you? My cousin snarled through clenched teeth. How dare you ask? It's all because of your meddling. The moment Cade returned, he interrogated and tortured me. You deserve to die. Then her tone shifted playfully. But thanks to you, I regained my lost memories and awakened my mother's tarantula bloodline. Look, now the entire Phoenix clan is my prey. As her words faded, the barrier dissipated, revealing the missing Phoenix clan members, each hanging upside down from spiderwebs, countless arachnids crawling over the silken threads. Cade stood upmost, his body covered in wounds and emaciated to the bone, clearly having endured brutal torture. Where are the Phoenix king and queen? Tempest's face twisted with malice. What king and queen? Those useless old birds. Devoured long ago. But don't worry, little sister, your turn comes soon enough. Without warning, she gave the command, and the spiderlings on the web began spewing genuine phoenix flames from their mouths. I dodged frantically. What the hell has Cade done? Tempest's offspring actually inherited his abilities. No wonder the mighty phoenixes were captured, their entire clan taken without a sound. Seeing me dodge, Tempest grew even more frenzied. You wretch, how dare you evade me? Why were you born superior to me? Why must I watch helplessly as my mother dies in agony? After all my struggles to win the Phoenix clan's favor, you still scheme to ruin my life. Are you happy now, seeing me like this? I want you dead. I want you dead. More and more spiderlings were swarming toward us. The struggle became increasingly difficult, and in a moment of distraction, flames licked at my arm. Seeing me injured, Lucius rushed to shield me in his arms without a second thought for himself. Countless tiny flames came flying toward me. I screamed in panic. No, don't. The flames landed squarely on Lucius, instantly charring his clothes and flesh to reveal golden armor beneath. As I focused my gaze, I realized the small flames had merely scorched his garments, even the fire licking my arm extinguished with Lucius's gentle pat. In a flash of golden light, he appeared before me, radiant in gilded armor, standing upon auspicious clouds. Fear not, princess, I shall protect you. Startled awake by the golden radiance, Cade stared blankly at Lucius with utter disbelief. The great sun, golden crow, how is this possible? Cousin Tempest covered her eyes and shrieked. Even the heavenly Tao protects you. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. I was so close. Why must you do this to me? With a casual flick of his hand, Lucius unleashed even fiercer flames that engulfed Cousin Tempest and the spiderlings. They writhed in agony before turning to ashes. The inferno raged onward, consuming the Phoenix clan members trapped in the webbing. From the flames rose the reborn phoenix, painting the sky crimson with its fiery rebirth. Lucius suddenly turned his head. Your Highness, are the fireworks beautiful? Using the Phoenix clan as fireworks? How could you even suggest such a thing? I could tell Lucius was joking. The solar true flame was only meant to aid the Phoenix's rebirth and preserve lives. I'd suspected Lucius's true identity, but never imagined he was actually the great solar golden crow, sovereign of all avian kind. The Phoenix clan narrowly escaped annihilation. Lucius regained his true form and was immediately summoned back to the sun god's palace. 8. In the Phoenix clan's dungeon, I discovered the missing dragon attendants and third uncle who vanished 2 days prior. Cade descended from the sky, his expression unreadable as he looked at me. Onyx, thank you. I regret it. I wronged you by being so obsessed with having an heir. If only I'd treated you properly after we got married. I cut off his pointless rambling yet again. What's done cannot be undone. There are no what-ifs in this world for those who live with regret. As for heirs, perhaps I neglected to mention, I carry the bloodline of the primordial dragon. Offspring never come easily to our kind. But grant me 4 times 9 cycles, and even I may conceive. You sealed your own fate with that impatience of yours. The full truth struck Cade like a spiritual vacuum, his body crumpling inward as if drained of vitality. Without a backward glance, I rallied my kin and raced toward the ancestral dragonlands. Any later and we might have bumped into Mother on the way, the moment I brought our clan back to the settlement. Mother descended from the heavens and immediately dragged my unwashed self into some juicy gossip. 9. Little Onyx, come quick, your mother's brought back the juiciest celestial scandal from the immortal realm. They say the sun god sneaked down to the mortal world, lost his memory, and some maiden stole his, divine essence. Oh dear, you wouldn't believe it. When I returned, that divine lord had just come back in complete disarray. The celestial beings up there were practically dying of laughter at his expense. My face burned crimson at Mother's words as I scrambled away in panic. She shouted after me in outrage, "You ungrateful little dragon whelp." My mother was utterly mortifying. Had she not just returned, I'd have sworn she did it on purpose. When Mother saw I wouldn't listen, she went running to Father instead. Upon learning I'd formed a spiritual bond, and with the crow demon of all creatures, she roared through our ancestral grounds, "Come out here, you insolent hatchling. First you form a bond without permission, then you choose a crow, and to top it off, you dare venture into Phoenix territory alone. Who gave you such audacity?" The fourth elder couldn't stand my mother's scolding anymore and kicked me out of my hiding spot. Every man for himself. Little Onyx, you're on your own now. This was the scene that greeted Lucius when he arrived with a delegation of deities to propose marriage. The beautiful matriarch, completely disregarding decorum, was pinching the soot-covered little princess's ear while lecturing her in hushed tones. The sun god chuckled awkwardly with my father. Dragon Clan's entertainment certainly knows how to make an impression. Father gave an awkward chuckle. Lucius swooped down beside me and pulled me into a possessive embrace. "My princess. Lucius comes to seek your hand in marriage." I kissed the corner of Lucius' lips with a smile. "Seems this time it's my turn to marry above my station." Lucius shook his head affectionately. "The princess treats me with genuine sincerity. This is no unequal match." After 41 more years, I finally conceived. In the sun god's palace, I anxiously tugged at Lucius' hair. "My love, what kind of child do you think the primordial dragon and golden crow would bear?" Lucius' side story. Life in heaven was dreadfully dull. My daily routine just involved raising and lowering the sun, so one day, I came up with a clever idea to let the sun rise and set on its own. I sneaked down to the mortal realm for some fun. As I descended, I stumbled when lifting one foot, still unaccustomed to walking on two legs, and banged my head on a platform, wiping all my memories clean. Fortunately, a kind-hearted girl took pity on me and found me a raven's pelt to wear. The moment I put on that raven skin, I somehow became a lowly crow slave among the Phoenix clan. Watching the girl go from wholehearted devotion to such a tragic end, I couldn't help but feel terribly sorry for her, so I used the time mirror to turn back the clock. When I opened my eyes again, she was pointing straight at me amidst a sea of demons. What can I say? The little lass has excellent taste. I meant to see how far she'd go on her own, but staying by her side softened my heart and I fell for her. What else could I do? Even the sun god can afford to lose face just this once, a small price to pay for a wife. Just a bit of wounded pride. Time flew by, and before long she was with child. Nervously tugging at my thinning hair, she whispered, "Darling, what kind of child do you think the primordial dragon and golden crow would have?" How should I know? Maybe a three-legged flying dragon, or a golden crow with whiskers, or some chimera like a Qilin, who knows? As long as our child isn't a fire-breathing bird-eating spider, I'm good. Any child of yours would be perfect. Before the Phoenix Elder could speak, third uncle had already stepped in to intervene. Onyx and I finally welcomed our child into the world. The little one was plump and fair, though at birth this palm-sized bundle of joy sported an unexpectedly massive pair of dragon horns. Onyx and I stared at those horns, momentarily at a loss for words. For secure document printing with ShahuBot, choose our BookBot service, reliable and hassle-free. Heavy checkmark, no pitfalls. / this. The ancestral dragon lineage truly possesses formidable bloodline power. / Onyx covered her eyes, and I quickly comforted her. / it's alright. Look how perfectly these dragon horns have grown. See how much the little one adores them. / The little one raised their hand, touching their dragon horns with a giggle. Onyx lowered their hand. Resigned to reality, oh well, they're still my own flesh and blood. After comforting Onyx, I turned to leave and saw their mother's concerned expression. "See, the baby is perfectly fine. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Onyx and the baby. They won't lack for anything." That's more like it. After seeing Onyx's mother out, I wiped the sweat from my brow and turned to check on my darling wife. Onyx was breastfeeding the baby while I crouched beside her, gently stroking her shoulder, tired. "I'm all right." Onyx played with the baby as I gave her a gentle shoulder massage. "What do you think we should name our child?" Onyx turned to look at me as I pretended to ponder. "Since our child inherits both the ancestral dragon's bloodline and the golden crow's lineage, how about we name them Gage?" Onyx burst into laughter and nodded in agreement. "All right, you got it." Story 2. At first, nobody paid much attention to the disaster, a prolonged heatwave that lasted for days. With temperatures soaring above 45 degrees Celsius, then came the drought, drying up fields and cutting off lakes. By the time people realized the severity of the situation, it felt as though the apocalypse had arrived. It's unbearably hot this year. How can it be so hot? Yes, it's been over 40 degrees for 3 days straight. It's insane. On my way home from work, pedestrians hurried along, few lingering on the wide roads, all rushing to the shelter of buildings to escape the heat. Stopped at an intersection waiting for the light to change. I glanced at my phone, 5:45 p.m., and it was still 38 degrees, even though it was nearly evening. The sun hadn't set yet, and the relentless heat made it feel like midday. Today's temperature was unusually high. When the light turned green, I hesitated, then turned left instead of going straight home. I decided to head to the city's largest supermarket to stock up on supplies. It was Friday, and the weekend was starting tomorrow. If the weather continued to hover above 40 degrees, I planned to ask for time off work to stay home and keep cool, especially since I had just secured a major project for the company. They should be able to grant me the leave. I charged into the supermarket, heading straight for the fresh produce section, where I bulk bought everyday ingredients, then moved on to the frozen section for some steaks, frozen fish, and shrimp. Passing by the household goods, I noticed a sale on sanitary pads and tampons. On a whim, I grabbed 2 large bags, filling my cart. "Do you need help?" a shy smiling young store assistant asked. I nodded, handed over my cart, and grabbed another. Heading to the canned goods aisle, I picked up 2 cans of each variety, then swept through the snacks aisle, grabbing seeds and chips. "Would you like to buy some beverages? We have a discounted combo of large Coke and Sprite bottles for just 9 yuan, he suggested. It made sense. Although I usually opt for healthier options and seldom drink sodas, chips without Coke seemed incomplete. I picked up 5 combo packs, totaling 10 bottles, and asked the young assistant to help load 2 cases of bottled water, filling a third cart. I thought I was done, but on my way out, passing the grains section, I suddenly remembered I was almost out of rice at home. I continued to trouble the young assistant, asking him to carry 2 bags of rice while I stuffed 5 packs of instant noodles into the gaps of the second cart. With that, 3 shopping carts were packed full. The total came to 13.21, 8 yuan. "Do you need delivery?" the assistant asked again. I shook my head. "No, just help me get these to the car." "Are you sure? It's quite heavy." He seemed eager to assist further, but I declined, only having him load everything into my spacious trunk. As I closed the trunk, the young assistant sighed, though I hardly noticed, and drove straight home. After divorcing my husband 5 years ago, I embarked on a 6-month journey of random travel, ultimately settling in this laid-back third-tier city, leaving behind everything familiar. Now, I live alone in a high-end residential area in the suburbs, on the 16th floor, not too high or too low, in an apartment with 2 units per floor and a private security door. Perhaps because of different activity schedules, the soundproofing in my apartment is so effective that I've never even met another neighbor on this floor. The only hint of their presence is the occasional umbrella left at the elevator entrance, signaling that other people do live here. I parked my car in the lot and made 3 trips to haul all my groceries to the elevator. Once I reached my apartment, it took me another 15 minutes to sort everything out and store it all in my large freezer and refrigerator. After the neighborhood was locked down once during the pandemic, I bought a large freezer. Now, it's filled to about 80% capacity. 1/3 of it is stocked with ice cream, with the rest occupied by frozen chicken, duck, and various animal organs, plus half a side of pork. These were all sent from my hometown where my parents lease a mountain. They enjoy raising chickens, ducks, and pigs there and often send me frozen goods, which just keep accumulating. I added steaks, frozen fish, and shrimp to the freezer, filling it up to 90% capacity. I thought to myself that even if a sudden pandemic led to another lockdown, I'd have enough meat to last 2 months. Ding. While I was stuffing some drinks into the fridge, my phone beeped with a message. Glancing at it, I saw a red high-temperature warning from the city's meteorological bureau, displaying a glaring 41 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, the temperature in the city will reach a new high of over 41 degrees. Residents are advised to avoid going out between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. if you have elderly or children at home. 41 degrees. I couldn't help but curse. I grabbed my phone to start the leave request process through our company's online system, notifying HR in one go. In such scorching weather, I had no intention of going out and getting roasted. I figured I might as well take as much leave as I could, considering the compensatory leave I'd accrued from rushing major projects over the last 6 months. Plus the weekends. I could probably take around 20 days off in one go. Surely it wouldn't still be this hot after 20 days. My leave was approved quickly. After I showered and checked my phone, I saw it had passed. I also had 2 missed calls from my mom, so I called her back. "Hello, Mom, Mary. It's really hot over there, isn't it? Don't go outside unless necessary. It's just you there. Heatstroke is no joke." And take some leave from work, you silly girl. You always liked running around even when it was 39 degrees as a child. She rattled off her concerns as soon as I answered, I know, Mom, make sure you both stay cool and don't skimp on the air conditioning. Okay, what air conditioning? Your father and I are up in the mountains. It only reached 35 degrees here today. And we still need blankets at night. You worry about yourself. If you had stayed here, you could have lived in the mountains where it's much cooler. Mom started her usual nagging, which I endured for over 10 minutes before finally finding an excuse to hang up. This summer was indeed unusually hot. I opened a box of ice cream and settled comfortably on the sofa, eating it while I turned on the TV. The ongoing heatwave has already resulted in thousands of deaths across Europe. With temperatures in parts of India exceeding 55 degrees, experts claim such temperatures are no longer suitable for human habitation. As soon as I turned it on, global heatwave news filled the screen. I felt fortunate to live in China, where the air conditioning penetration rate exceeds 100%. Little did I know that in just a few short days, the relentless heat would soon show me what it means to be unfit for human habitation. The following weekend, I blissfully kept my air conditioning on a constant 24-hour cycle, sleeping until I naturally woke up, then spending my days watching shows and playing games at home. When mealtime came, I cooked myself a nice dish and made some soup, comfortably enjoying a vacation at home. Until Monday, I was blissfully asleep when suddenly, my phone's ringing woke me up. It was my colleague, Huan Ling. Mary, why aren't you at work today? I've taken leave, a long leave, so you won't see me until next month. I let out a long yawn. Upon hearing this, Huan Ling sounded shocked. Really? I couldn't believe it when HR said you'd used up all your annual and compensatory leave. Is something going on at home? She is the closest colleague I have at the company. I quickly sat up. It's nothing serious. It's just too hot, and I don't feel like working. I just want to rest a bit. Don't worry, big sister. Skipping work because it's hot. Have you lost your mind? It's not like it's the end of the world. Heatwave apocalypse, ever heard of that? I chuckled. TSK, I'm so envious you can take leave now. I still have to wrap up a project, otherwise, I'd take leave too. You know, my hands got sunburned just on my way to the office this morning. Huan Ling complained a bit before hanging up the phone. I glanced at the time, 8:45 a.m. The sun is this fierce already. I got out of bed, drew back the blackout curtains, and opened the window to feel the air, only to be hit by a blast of hot air. Everything outside looked somewhat distorted. Damn, I quickly shut the window and drew the curtains again. This is absurd. It's way too hot. How are people supposed to work outside in this weather? I checked the weather forecast, which showed 39 degrees Celsius, but it refreshed and jumped to 40 degrees, with a forecast indicating a continuing rise. 10 a.m., 41 degrees, 11 a.m., 41 degrees, 12 p.m., 42 degrees, 1 p.m., 43 degrees, 2 p.m., 43 degrees. Is it me who's crazy, or the weather forecast? Yesterday's high was 40 degrees, and today it's going to hit 43. Feeling anxious, I quickly made myself a simple breakfast, cleaned up the trash, and decided to take out the garbage before it got even hotter. As I opened the door, I bumped into Bob from the building management, who had just knocked on my neighbor's door. Great, you're here too, let's listen together. He turned and smiled at me. I smiled back and looked at my neighbor I had never met before. He was a man with slightly long hair and dark circles under his eyes, looking as if he had just woken up. Our eyes met, and we nodded at each other. Here's the situation. Due to the extreme heat, there's a possibility of power outages. Don't panic if it happens. Our complex has solar power backup which takes about 10 minutes to kick in. During this time, please try to conserve electricity and set air conditioners no lower than 26 degrees, Bob explained. Will there be any water cuts? I asked. I'm not sure yet, but I advise storing some drinking water at home. This heat is insane, and unfortunately, we can't guarantee water supply at the moment. I apologize for the inconvenience. Here's a flyer for you to look at. Understood. The man across the hall nodded, took the flyer, and promptly closed the door. He didn't seem very polite. Bob wasn't bothered, though. He handed the flyer to me, and I asked if he wanted to come in for a rest. He declined, saying he needed to notify the building's residents face-to-face as quickly as possible, in case someone missed the notice. Are you throwing this out? Just give it to me, I'll take care of it. He even took the trash I was holding. The property fee of 20 yuan per square meter was indeed well spent. The community's amenities were quite advanced, and the service was both excellent and considerate. After seeing him off, I went back inside and saw on the communication screen by the door a message about possible power outages due to high temperatures, identical to what was on the flyer. If Bob hadn't knocked, I probably wouldn't have noticed. The sound of ambulances and fire trucks seemed unusually frequent today. Sitting on the sofa with the air conditioning on and eating ice cream, I felt a bit guilty. News about various disasters caused by extreme heat began to scroll across the internet. One video made it to the top. It featured a reporter who, for the first 30 seconds, was broadcasting live outdoors without a hat under the scorching sun. At the 31st second, smoke suddenly started coming from his head, and his hair actually caught fire. Thankfully, a crew member quickly extinguished it with a bottle of water. "Thank you for the concern, I'm fine. In hot weather, please don't use too much hair wax. And don't work under the sun for too long." That was the top comment. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it, but couldn't bring myself to. I had a nagging feeling that the world was heading towards a major crisis. 43 degrees, 44 degrees, 45 degrees. Sure enough, over the next few days, the temperature continued to rise. A week later, the daytime temperature shockingly reached 46 degrees, and even at midnight, it was still 39 degrees. All outdoor work was halted, and nearly all companies switched to remote work. Except for a few essential workers who continued to persevere on the front lines. Yesterday's hottest news was about a mother who fell on the road while holding her feverish child, burning all the skin that touched the ground. Today's hottest news was about a heroic electrician who suffered from heatstroke and died while working under the scorching sun. Countless people offered virtual white flowers online. No one used the candle emoji anymore because it was simply too hot. As the high temperatures persisted, multiple areas experienced power issues, and news of heat-related deaths increased. Authorities launched emergency measures, opening all air-conditioned school auditoriums, gyms, and malls as 24-hour cooling centers for those without air conditioning, but the death toll kept rising with the temperature. Hospitals were overwhelmed, and fires were frequent in both cities and rural areas. With countless pleas for help circulating online, since the holiday started, I had been calling my parents daily to check on their situation. Although they were in the mountains, the temperature there had also reached 40 degrees recently. Today, when I spoke to them, I found out they had finally turned on the air conditioning. "Mary, don't worry about us. Make sure you turn on your air conditioning and don't worry about the electricity bill. Your parents have money," they urged me. Now they were the ones convincing me to use it. "It's on, don't worry," I assured them. "Do you have enough to eat? Should we send you some food? We don't know when this disaster will end," my mom said, clearly worried. "I have plenty, really, didn't I tell you? I bought a lot of food before my holiday started, enough for 3 months. Plus, the property management sends over groceries daily." After ending the call, I took another set of photos of the stockpiled food in my 2 fridges. Due to the severe natural disaster, I've had little appetite these past few days, eating sparingly. Even with 2 refrigerators, only a portion of the fruits and vegetables was used up. After rearranging them, the fridges still appeared to be full. Buzz, just after I snapped a photo to send, the TV suddenly went black, and the whole room fell silent. I pressed the light switch a few times, confirming that the power was out. Fortunately, thanks to a prior warning from Bob, the property manager, I wasn't too worried. After the air conditioning stopped, the temperature around me quickly rose, and the air became stifling. Each breath I took felt significantly hotter than the last. Minutes later, drenched in sweat, I hurriedly grabbed an ice cream from the fridge, sat on the floor, and ate it while waiting for the power to come back. The ice cream was gone, and the electricity still hadn't returned. I had another one, still no power. Getting restless, I was about to grab the intercom to call the property management when, ding dong, the doorbell rang. Peering through the peephole, I saw the man from across the hall, his eyes dark with fatigue, sweating profusely at my doorstep. Should I open the door? Hesitating, I secured the safety chain and cracked the door open slightly. "What's up?" I asked. The man gestured with something in his hand. Focusing, I saw it was an ice cream. "I just called the property management. They said it'll be another half hour. You must be overheating. Have an ice cream to cool down. I have plenty more if you need," he said, his voice surprisingly pleasant. "Thanks, but I'm fine," I replied, perhaps sensing my caution. He didn't press further, simply setting the ice cream on the shelf by my door before turning to leave. I watched through the door crack as he passed through the security doors and returned to his apartment, closing his door behind him. Maybe he's genuinely kind. Ice cream is a rare commodity in times like these. I opened the door, brought the ice cream inside, and thought for a moment before double bagging it in plastic and placing it in my freezer. I then grabbed another ice cream to eat. After this one, I won't open the freezer again to keep the cold air from escaping. It's really hot. About 20 minutes later, I was sprawled on the floor, panting like a dog. It was hot, and I dared not open the windows for fear it might be hotter outside. 46 degrees Celsius. No, wait. 3:38 p.m. Update successful. I stared in disbelief at the refreshed temperature display on my phone, almost shouting in shock. 48 degrees. It was now 48 degrees. This couldn't be right. I must have seen it wrong. My finger pressed on the screen, pulling down to refresh. 3:39 p.m. Update successful. 3:39 p.m. Update successful. 3:39 p.m. Update successful. But it showed 48 degrees 3 times in a row. Then the screen suddenly changed to a 404 error. I tried to check the weather again, but a notification that the mobile network was disconnected appeared, along with a red exclamation mark. I turned the phone off and on again, only to see that there was no signal on either carrier. It wasn't just the internet. My phone had lost all communication capabilities. The temperature around me is soaring, and it feels like the room is close to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Every breath I take is filled with hot air, making me feel like I'm about to suffocate. I dashed to the door, grabbed the intercom, and pressed the button to call the property management. Beep, beep, beep. After a long wait, no one answered. Had the property management stopped working too? Heat and fear instantly overwhelmed me. The room echoed only with the sound of my breathing. The soundproofing was so good that I couldn't hear anything else. It was as if I were on a deserted island. Stay calm, Mary. You need to stay calm. Talking to myself, I walked to the freezer, yanked it open, and pulled out a duck that had been frozen solid for months. Holding it helped cool me down a bit and brought some calm, allowing me to think about what to do if I suffered heatstroke alone in this room. Heatstroke, what to do for heatstroke, right? Herbal cooling tonic. I opened the medicine cabinet, gulped down a bottle of the tonic, and applied some essential balm on my forehead, neck, and underarms to help dissipate the heat. Then, I grabbed a blanket, soaked it in a large tub of water in the bathroom, and draped it over myself. Having done all I could, I ate an ice cream quickly while continuously glancing at the clock on the wall, regretting not buying a digital clock with a thermometer to know the current temperature indoors. But even knowing the temperature wouldn't change the situation. Beep, beep, beep. I don't know how long it had been, maybe a few minutes, maybe half an hour. But suddenly the intercom buzzed to life. I whipped my head around, nearly straining my neck. Attention, residents, coughed the voice. Our city is currently facing a heatwave disaster. The solar panels in our complex have been damaged and we cannot restore electricity at the moment. Residents can temporarily seek refuge in the underground parking garage. The temperature on the first underground level is 103.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And on the second level, it's 104 degrees. Of course, the underground parking garage. Why didn't I think of that? Just as I was about to rush out, I thought better of it and grabbed a backpack, swapped the frozen duck for a new one, packed the remaining essential balm and herbal tonic, stuffed in 2 loaves of bread and 3 bottles of water, and re-soaked the blanket before finally opening the door. As I opened my door, the door opposite also opened, and my neighbor, carrying a large backpack, stepped out. What a coincidence. A neighbor I had never met before. And now we meet every time we open our doors since the heatwave started. Come with me, my car's tank is full, he said, approaching me. I instinctively took a step back. Since my divorce, I've been wary of men around me, always instinctively fearful. I mean no harm. You probably have a car too. We can sit in the car and use the air conditioning. If my car runs out of fuel, we can switch to yours. That way, we can hold out a little longer. He looked into my eyes, seeming a bit uneasy. The hallway was hotter than inside. The sunlight streaming through the windows made the air I breathed even hotter, almost blurring my vision. I gasped for air, grabbed the car keys beside the door, and closed it. Okay, let's go. In a natural disaster like this, no one can survive alone. Sticking together is our only chance. I had no choice but to agree with him. My neighbor led the way to the stairwell door, and as he opened it, a rush of cool air greeted us. On the 16th floor, people usually don't take the stairs, due to the typically poor ventilation. The normally stifling stairwell was surprisingly cool, and I imagined the basement must be even more comfortable. Driven by a desire to escape the heat, I quickened my pace. Soon, echoes of footsteps filled the stairwell, intermittent and mixed with curses and the cries of children. Other residents, it seemed, had also heard the property management's announcement and were coming out. As I passed the 5th floor, I saw an elderly man with graying hair sitting on the ground against the wall, unresponsive to those passing by. Sir, are you all right? I stopped to ask. My legs don't work well, I can't move. Don't worry about me, just go on, the old man said. I hesitated for a moment. A neighbor, who had already turned the corner ahead of me, came back upon hearing my exchange with the old man. Should we help you walk? He suggested. No need, just go away, the old man replied sharply, his eyes fierce, startled. I quickly continued downstairs. It wasn't until I reached the 3rd floor that my neighbor caught up, fiddling with his backpack zipper as we walked. I left him a bottle of water. Life and death are predestined, he said. His voice trembling slightly. Basement level 1. My neighbor pulled out his car keys, and an SUV parked close to the stairwell blinked twice. He hurried over, yanked open the driver's door, tossed his backpack onto the passenger seat, and started the car. Vroom. As the engine turned on, the car slightly shook and a wave of gasoline fumes hit me, making my stomach churn. I get carsick easily, but at that moment, getting into the car was my only option, so I climbed into the back seat. The back seat of the SUV was spacious but had poor air quality, filled with the sour smell of fermenting fruit. Already nauseous from the gasoline fumes, this peculiar odor nearly made me vomit. Sorry, I forgot to take out a bag of fruit, he mentioned softly, probably noticing my discomfort in the rearview mirror. I searched and found a bag of spoiled fruit. After hesitating, I decided not to throw it out but instead tied the plastic bag tightly and tucked it into the corner. There wasn't much food, and I had to prepare for the worst. With the air conditioning on, the temperature inside the car gradually cooled, though still stuffy. It was no longer hot. Passers-by occasionally walked by and got into nearby cars, clearly having the same idea as my neighbor and me. People entering the basement saw that all the cars were occupied. Some turned back, presumably to fetch their keys, while others hesitated and then headed to the second basement level. I saw a few property management staff hurriedly carrying boxes of bottled water through the stairwell. Thoughtful property management, I mused. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ziv. What's your name? The neighbor in the driver's seat asked. I'm Mary, I replied, hesitating to use my real name and neatly folding the damp blanket on my lap. That's fine, he responded, and then we both fell silent, quietly enjoying the cooling temperature inside the car, in this natural disaster. It was hard to know when it would end. The atmosphere was as heavy as the air, with only the hum of the car's air conditioning filling the silence. After a while, he turned on the car radio. Attention, it is reported that the extreme heat will continue for another week. Residents are advised to avoid going outdoors. As soon as it was turned on, unfortunate news began to broadcast. I sighed, silently contemplating whether the water and bread in my backpack would be sufficient. I regretted bringing the duck. I could have packed more food and water instead. Attention, temperatures near Greenland have soared to almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit, causing glaciers to melt. Attention, global extreme weather events, half the planet is turning red. Attention, scientists predict that in the next 10 years, the maximum temperatures could rise even further. Ziv flipped through a few channels, then turned off the radio, feeling that continuing to listen was pointless as the news only made him more anxious. It's all because of you. I said we should take Xiaoming to my mother's place in the mountains for the summer break, but you refused. Now look at us, we're almost like refugees. A voice complained from outside. A couple with a young girl passed by our car and got into the vehicle next to us, because our SUV was parked close to the stairwell. More and more people hurried past our car, elderly, children. Mostly families. I watched them in silence, my heart pounding as the overhead light flickered a few times. The elevators had stopped working. Where was the parking lot's light getting its power from? It seemed like the air systems were off, only the lights were on. As I was pondering this, Ziv suddenly slammed his fist on the steering wheel, cursing loudly. I tensed up, flashbacks of my past relationship, where my ex-husband's fists were covered in my blood, involuntarily crossed my mind. Mary, I was wrong. We need to go back upstairs. Ziv turned to look at me, his expression frozen. Are you okay? He asked cautiously. I wiped the sweat from my face, trying to calm myself down. I'm fine. What did you just say? Drink some water first. He handed me a bottle of water. I didn't take it, fighting the urge to retreat, and instead took out a bottle of mineral water from my bag and drank half of it to soothe my heartbeat. Mary, we shouldn't have come downstairs. There are too many cars. And it might get very hot and dangerous here soon, Ziv said, putting his water back into his bag. You mean? I realized something too and quickly looked around. Anyone with a car seemed to have the same idea, to use it as a refuge from the heat. 8 out of 10 cars around us were already running, and more people were getting into empty cars. Car exhaust could cause the temperature to rise and increase carbon monoxide levels. We need to go back upstairs. Ziv looked at me. I massaged my temples. Going downstairs was easy, but going back up to the 16th floor would be a challenge. This is life-threatening. If you don't want to go upstairs, you can stay in my car. As long as you don't step out, it should be safe. But, Ziv hesitated, once the fuel ran out, I would still need to leave the car to breathe. By then, not only would I have to endure the scorching heat, but I might also suffer from carbon monoxide poisoning. I'll go upstairs. After weighing the options, I made my decision. We both silently checked our backpacks, shouldered them, and opened the car door. In the neighboring car, a little girl was peering out at me through the window. I couldn't help but knock on their window. What are you doing? The wife picked up the child. Looking defensive. There are too many cars here. Carbon monoxide might exceed safe levels. I suggest you go back home, I said loudly and walked away, not caring if she understood or not. I quickly followed Ziv's steps. We were the closest ones around, and I had fulfilled my duty to warn others. There was no need to play the saint. By the time we reached the 5th floor, the old man was nowhere to be seen. Only an empty mineral water bottle lay on the ground, continuing upwards. The staircase was crowded with people descending. Seeing us ascend, many cast puzzled glances our way, though some, like us, were also heading up, resting on different floors, likely thinking along the same lines as us. On the 10th floor, we ran into someone we knew, Bob from the property management. Are you going back to get some things? He was panting as he came down from above, a backpack on his shoulders just like ours, and looked surprised to see us. We're going home. Not planning to come back down. You'd better warn the people in the parking lot to be careful of carbon monoxide poisoning, Ziv replied. Bob paused, muttered something under his breath, then suddenly leaned close to Ziv and whispered a few words. I saw Ziv's expression change from confusion to surprise, and then to shock. Are you serious? Good luck to us all. Bob patted Ziv on the shoulder and hurriedly left. What did he say? I asked. Ziv turned to me, his face grave, sweat dripping heavily from his forehead. Mary, I'm not sure if my judgment is correct anymore. It's your call, whether to go up home or down to the car. Bob just said that the property's thermometer shows it's not 48 degrees outside, it's 56 degrees. What does 56 degrees mean? The coronavirus can only survive for 30 minutes at 56 degrees, and people, we were both breathing heavily, our breaths filling the tiny space. The surrounding temperature was rising. Each breath felt like being in a sauna room, a mass of heat, a mass of discomfort. 56 degrees, 56 degrees, 56. Hasn't India been hitting 55 degrees for years? I couldn't help but argue. The number was so shocking. I suspected Ziv might have heard wrong. It could be 46 degrees, which was already frightening. How could it suddenly rise to 56 degrees? Ziv looked stern. So, what's your plan? Going home or to the car? Do you want to go home or to the car? I threw the question back to him. Leaning on my knees and gasping for air, the high temperature made the air thin, and having climbed so many floors, I felt like I was about to combust. Ziv didn't answer but opened a bottle of water, drank half, and poured the rest over his head. His face turned red from the heat, and his dark circles vanished. I took out the last bottle of water from my bag, drank half, and poured the rest on my head. The mineral water, which was close to thawing 80% of a duck, felt slightly icy, refreshing me a bit, allowing me to use what little brain cells I had left. Heated away. To think, it was around 4:30 in the afternoon, at least an hour and a half before sunset, without air conditioning. The temperature difference between indoors and outdoors is generally 3 to 5 degrees, meaning if I went home, I would likely be subjected to temperatures above 50 degrees, but if I went back to the car, suddenly, I heard the crisp sound of glass shattering. The high temperature had caused the metal window frame to deform. The glass shattered suddenly. A wave of even more intense heat rushed in. We have to go now. I choose to go home. You do as you wish, Ziv said anxiously, bolting up the stairs. Without thinking, I quickly followed him. The effects of the high temperature were more severe than anticipated. As soon as we moved, we could hear the constant sound of glass shattering, some even falling from the window frames, leaving the ground covered in pieces. By the 13th floor, I was exhausted like a dog, panting with my tongue out, my legs stiff against the scalding handrail, barely able to move. Ziv turned back, grabbed me, and dragged me upward. It was hot. The high temperature seemed to take physical form, turning into a fire dragon that relentlessly pursued us, spitting out breaths of 1,000-degree heat, ready to reduce us to ashes at any moment. 14th floor, 15th floor, it was too hot. The sweat that dripped from my body evaporated as soon as it hit the ground. On the final floor, I was practically crawling, my palms scalded by the floor, yet I screamed in pain, my throat hurting too much to make a sound. We need to get inside quickly. Ziv fumbled for his keys in a panic but couldn't find them. I grabbed the hem of his shirt from behind and pointed at my door. The code is 0726, ding, welcome home. Fortunately, the keypad lock hadn't melted. We tumbled inside, greedily breathing in the slight coolness that remained. What a huge freezer, I heard Ziv's voice, surprised and relieved. Coming home was the right choice. I had stored so much ice, fearing a water outage, and filled the bathtub with plenty of water. We should be fine for the remaining hour or so. Moments later, I lay in the bathtub water, floating among a few chickens. Ziv sat on the toilet lid, his heels soaking in a basin of water along with a duck, another basin on his thighs, his hands clutching a duck for coolness. The bathroom was filled with frozen chickens and ducks. The scene was somewhat comical but effective. At least the temperature had dropped to a bearable range. You really have a knack for this. Did you stock up all this meat in the freezer fearing a zombie outbreak? Ziv teased, playing with a duck in the water. I'd rather it was a zombie outbreak. At least then I could hide at home for a few months without fearing being cooked alive, I responded coldly. Gazing out the window, this window, being smaller and in the shade, hadn't cracked. The illusion of a gilded city outside seemed unreal. If this is a dream, I hope to wake up soon. 2 hours later, the sun finally set. The city's rooftops lost their golden sheen as darkness gradually enveloped the earth. After another hour or so, looking out the window, I could see candlelight in some of the buildings. It seemed many had chosen to remain in their homes. Ziv opened the bathroom door and stepped out. Taking a deep breath and exhaling slowly, "It's finally cooling down." He didn't need to say it. I knew it was cooler because I actually felt cold soaking in the tub. I stood up from the bathtub, wanting to tidy up my disheveled appearance, but as soon as my feet hit the floor, I suddenly felt dizzy. This was bad. The next second, my eyes shut automatically, and I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I was greeted by the ceiling fan light in the living room. I was lying on the living room floor, and to my surprise, there was a hint of light outside. Had I been unconscious all night, awake, Ziv handed me a bottle of drink, 1 piece of good news and 3 pieces of bad news. Which do you want to hear first? The good one. I was startled by my own hoarse voice and quickly took a sip of the drink. Ziv nodded. "The good news is you're still alive. And the bad news?" I asked, taking another sip. The drink was room temperature but very refreshing. After drinking some, I felt energized. Sitting up, I stretched my limbs, feeling like I had narrowly escaped a disaster. "The bad news is the water stopped last night. There's still no electricity. And there's no cell signal either." A triple threat. I fell silent. If today was as hot as yesterday, it would be even more unbearable. Also, another piece of good news, the radio function on my phone still works. We can listen to the news until the battery runs out. I have 1% left. Ziv smiled and turned on the radio. "ZZZ, this is China National Radio, China National Radio, China National Radio. We urge all citizens to stay indoors during the day, stay hydrated, and avoid going out while waiting for rescue. The extreme heat has affected 9 provinces nationwide, with temperatures possibly reaching 60 degrees. ZZZZ, the phone died, automatically shutting off. I numbly watched him, temperatures up to 60 degrees. That number made me wonder if I was living on a flame-engulfed mountain. Got a power bank, darling. Ziv still managed to joke. I walked into the study and pulled out 2 power banks from a drawer. Just as I was about to bring them to him, a light bulb went off in my head. Power banks, charging. "Ziv, come help me with something." I dragged a chair and placed it under the bookshelf. "What's up?" "Grab that package from the top, the square one, this one. It's kind of heavy, be careful." Ziv climbed the chair and brought down the package. "Yes, that's the one." I was thrilled, carefully placing the box on the floor. "What is this?" Ziv asked. "A home solar charging kit." "What?" "A home solar charging kit I bought a while ago but never opened." 06. I really amaze myself sometimes. Over the past few years, I've moved up to the management level in my company and made quite a bit of money, leading me to buy all sorts of things out of curiosity or perceived usefulness. If I remember correctly, I bought this solar charging kit a year and a half ago. I had initially planned to get an RV for traveling, but the lack of parking spaces deterred me, although I had already bought plenty of outdoor survival gear. "Sis, you're incredible, having such a great thing." Ziv got excited too and quickly helped me unpack it and set it up according to the manual. Half an hour later, just before the sun rose, we placed the solar charging panels on the bedroom bay window, drew the curtains, and dragged an ice chest into the bedroom, filling it with small fans. As the sun slowly rose, golden light once again covered the earth. As the temperature climbed, Ziv glanced at me, I nodded, and he decisively pressed the switch. The hum of the electrical appliance starting up and the sound of a small fan kicking into action was music to our ears. When I had bought the freezer, I opted for a lower power model since I didn't need a quick freeze function. I figured it wouldn't be a problem to maintain its functionality as long as the solar panels were effective. Now, the freezer was full of drinks and bottled water, some of which were mine, and some Ziv had brought over from his place. He mentioned he was a game streamer who often didn't leave his house for weeks, so he had a good stock of supplies at home. We took inventory of all our food. All the ice cream had melted and was too messy to deal with, so I threw it out. Originally, the freezer contained 6 chickens, 3 ducks, half a pig, about 5 kilograms of beefsteaks, along with 2 fish and a bag of shrimp. Given the weather, it was hard to keep the meat fresh. So we decided to spread it all out on the balcony floor before it started to rot, hoping the day's high temperatures might dry it into jerky, making it easier to preserve. The leafy vegetables had nearly spoiled after last night's heat, emitting an unpleasant odor. We didn't dare eat them as getting sick would be a serious setback. We left them on the balcony too, sprinkled with some salt, hoping to dry them into dried vegetables. There were also eggs. which I wrapped in clothes and placed on the balcony shelf, hoping they would cook in the sun. While checking the snacks, I found that 2 bags of potato chips had popped open and were baked hard and crispy. I collected all the snacks from the floor into a bag, moved the intact packs along with other snacks, cookies, and bread into the bedroom. The canned goods and rice were left in the kitchen cabinets for now. Then there was a bag of apples. Still fresh, we decided to eat them quickly. They would be our food for the next few days. Big sis, you really are resourceful, keeping all this food stashed at home, Ziv commented. I shuddered. Don't call me Big Sis, just use my name, Mary. Big Sis, shut it, or I'll kick you out. I left the bedroom and seized the opportunity to move some books from the study into the bedroom while the temperature was still bearable. These books had been unopened since I bought them. And with the disaster weather preventing us from going out or using electronic devices, they were perfect for passing time. Ziv wisely didn't bother me further. He went out, returned with a few books of his own, and settled down in a corner with a chair. As time passed, the temperature gradually increased. We cracked open the freezer door slightly and positioned the fan to oscillate back and forth as the temperature rose further. We opened the freezer door wider to keep the room within a tolerable range, continually drinking water to replenish the fluids we were losing. Even with this makeshift cooling system, by the afternoon, we were both drenched in sweat, our books dampened by it. The idea of keeping cool by staying calm simply didn't apply in the face of extreme heat. Fortunately, we managed to get through it. Today's highest temperature reached 58 degrees, and the hot weather is expected to continue. In the evening, we charged our phones and turned on the radio, feeling a bit anxious about the situation. Without the life-saving solar charging equipment, Ziv and I really wouldn't know how we would have managed. After dark, we used our phone flashlights for lighting and brought all the meat back inside from the balcony. We almost slipped on the way out due to the grease that had cooked out of the meat. The aroma of the meat was so strong that it couldn't be contained. Initially, I was somewhat worried that it might attract people with ulterior motives. I was cautious for several days, unable to sleep well at night, but fortunately, no one else showed up. Ziv would go back to his own house to sleep every night and only come over during the day. Starting from the second day, he brought over a pile of board games along with the books we had, which helped us pass quite a bit of time. We ate sun-dried barbecue every day, occasionally snacking on some chips, accompanied by drinks from the fridge. After getting used to the high temperatures, there were moments when I felt as if time stood still in peace, but I knew that was an illusion, because with each passing day of the heat wave, there were fewer lights from candles in the building opposite us at night. One night, a week later, I was asleep, dreaming about exchanging intelligence with a rival company, the rival one, but I felt no regret. I even applauded as they set off celebratory cannons. Bang! The sound of an explosion woke me up. I sat up abruptly, looking out the window, only to realize it wasn't celebratory cannons but an explosion in the building across, where flames split the night. Lately, I had been hearing explosions and seen fires and smoke at night, but they were always far from me. This was the closest one yet. Bang! Another loud noise, the windows trembling. I screamed, rolled out of bed, and rushed out, only to find myself holding Ziv's waist, trembling uncontrollably. It's okay. It's okay. It's just the building across. The fire won't reach us. He reached out stiffly and stroked my hair. I shivered and pushed him away sharply. Mary, don't come near. I'm fine. Just fine. I bit my lip, retreated back to the bedroom, and quickly closed the door. The fire in the building across had fully engulfed it now, as if I could hear the crackling and screams. Mary, are you okay? Ziv knocked on the door. I crouched down, hugged my knees, and covered my ears. The pounding in my head mixed with Ziv's knocks assaulted me like raindrops. I'm fine. Just go back, I screamed. Mary, I'm right here outside. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Just calm down. Ziv seemed to say this as the knocking stopped. I couldn't hear clearly, just crouched there, watching through the window as the fire in the building across grew larger. People ran out of the flames, plunging straight down like birds without wings. Someone appeared at a window, frantically waving a flashlight for help. Others threw water from higher floors. But it was no use. The fire just grew bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger, until it enveloped the entire building. The fire blazed into the sky, ironically, while the building across turned into a fiery hell. The temperature here, less than 100 meters away, hardly rose. God, if this is truly the apocalypse, please let me find release soon. Holding my knees, I watched with open eyes until the dawn. The fire burned all night long and hadn't completely died down by dawn. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was knocking at the bedroom door. I suddenly fell to the floor, only then realizing that my legs had gone numb. Mary, it's me, Ziv. Can you check if it's raining outside? He asked. Though Ziv called it rain, it was really just a few sporadic drops that would have gone unnoticed and nearly evaporated before even hitting the ground. Half an hour later, I looked down from the balcony. The ground was still golden yellow. The sun had risen, and the temperature was climbing as usual. "It's artificial rain from the neighboring city, we got a bit of it," Ziv said, standing behind me with his phone in hand. Though this slight drizzle was hardly useful, the fact that there was artificial rain meant that the higher-ups were still operational. If we just kept going, a cooler day would eventually come. We can't lose faith in survival. I've brought over 2 more boxes of water. The extreme heat won't last much longer. It should be over soon, Ziv remarked as he carried the water to the bedroom door. Seeing that I had no objections, he proceeded to bring them inside. His cautious glance was unmistakable. What a mess. I might have scared him last night. Several spots in the building across were rekindling, sending up billows of thick smoke that obscured part of the sky. Sunlight filtered through the dark haze, casting sharp, blood-red spears surrounded by a halo of orange. Ominous and threatening, faced with such a scene. Both of us were somewhat distracted, forgetting what cards had been played and eventually giving up on the game altogether, each picking up a book instead. Later, I went to the bathroom and found that the water in the bathtub, which we used to flush the toilet, was nearly gone, and the basin and buckets were all empty. In recent days, to conserve water, we had an unspoken agreement to only flush the toilet after major use, and for bathing, we simply wiped down with a damp towel. However, the prolonged duration and high temperatures hastened evaporation. "There's not much water left for the toilet. Let's flush just once a day from now on," I suggested to Ziv as I stepped out of the bathroom. Ziv gave a wry smile upon hearing this but didn't object. We both knew it was an inevitable decision. Fortunately, 3 nights later, we finally got a substantial rainfall. It was another instance of artificial rain, but this time it was directly above our city. And the suburbs received a significant amount too. The sound of rain beating against the windows woke me up abruptly, and Ziv knocked on my door. Barely able to contain his excitement, we hurriedly placed every available container on the balcony to catch as much rainwater as possible and grabbed towels to seize the moment for a thorough wash. Ziv stripped off his shirt, revealing a young body with even muscles, though slightly thinner, and he cheered in the rain, throwing modesty aside. I turned away from Ziv and let the rain wash away the stickiness on my skin, reveling in the raindrops hitting my face, feeling utterly refreshed. Laughter echoed from above and below. Clearly many others in the building were also persevering. Half an hour later, the rain stopped. It came quickly and left just as swiftly. The buckets were less than a third full, but the coolness and hope it brought were abundant. Ziv and I celebrated by opening 2 cans of yellow peach preserves. "Treat it as a reward for yourself. There's still plenty of food left. The high temperatures have already lessened our appetites, and now we haven't even touched the half-pig that was roasted. Only having eaten a few ducks and chickens, we've had no shortage of drinking water and beverages. I still haven't finished the drinks I stockpiled from the supermarket before the disaster struck. Just hang in there. We'll definitely get through this." Ding ding ding. I had just changed into clean clothes when another piece of good news arrived. My phone signal was restored, and a flood of text messages came in all at once. To ensure we didn't miss any updates from the outside world, we had an unspoken agreement to keep our phones fully charged every day. Even when there was no signal, I picked up my phone and briefly glanced at the messages. Most were safety alerts and high-temperature warnings, and some were messages from the authorities about shelters. "Hello, Mom." Ziv had already connected a call to his family. Ah, what an unfilial daughter I am. Falling behind, I hurriedly dialed my mom's number, only to find her phone turned off, out of battery. I dialed our home landline. Beep, 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 a rapid busy signal. Why is this happening? I tried my dad's cell phone number, but couldn't get through, and then I tried my uncle's and other relatives' numbers, calling each one by one. "I'm okay here, really, we have enough water and food, just take care of yourselves and don't." Ziv was on the phone, and his voice faltered as he turned to me. "Mom, just stay put until the temperature drops, listen to the authorities, and I'll come to see you once things normalize. My friend needs to use my phone to call home. I have to hang up now." He spoke a few more words and then hung up, passing the phone to me. "Try using mine." I didn't refuse and took it from him, first dialing that all too familiar number of my mom's. Turned off, still turned off. They might be experiencing a power outage in their area. Seeing that I couldn't get through to anyone, Ziv tried to console me. "They're over 60 years old now." I clutched the 2 phones, continuing to dial. And just when I was about to lose hope, a cousin I hadn't contacted for many years answered the phone. Hello, it's Mary." "Who?" "Cousin, it's Mary, your aunt's daughter. Do you know anything about my mom? I can't get in touch with them. I'm alone out here." I tried to remain calm as I spoke. "Oh, it's you. I don't know, maybe try calling the shelter." Thankfully, my cousin was helpful and immediately sent me a list of local shelter phone numbers. I started calling immediately, but after checking 3 shelters, I could not find my parents' names. I wanted to continue searching, but then a standard automated voice came through my phone. "Hello, the number you are dialing is out of service area. Please try again later." I had a bad feeling about this and tried another number, only to get the same message. Looking at my phone, the signal was gone again. Signal lost. Hey, don't cry. Ziv awkwardly handed me a tissue, and I realized I was already in tears. I can't get in touch with them. And they're getting older. It's so hot today. What should we do? Although the mountains are much cooler than the city, such high temperatures spare no one, not even there. Coupled with the power and signal outages, I'm really worried something might happen to them. Don't worry, they'll be fine. My parents are safe. They're in a shelter with air conditioning, food, and water. They're much more comfortable than we are. As Ziv spoke, he handed me several tissues. I took them and buried my face in the tissues, crying uncontrollably. I hadn't cried through all the hardships of these past days, nor when I was terrified by the fire in the building across, but when I couldn't reach my parents who were thousands of miles away, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. I regretted being so willful, living so far away by myself, only going back to see them once a year. If I could do it over, I would stay by their side, never leaving. A pair of slightly stiff but warm arms gently embraced me from the side. I flinched slightly, my body trembling. "Don't be afraid, it's me, don't be scared. I won't hurt you. Your parents are probably just in a place where the signal hasn't been restored. They must be anxious to contact you too. The cell signal came back once. It will definitely come back again. We need to be patient and wait a little longer, okay?" Though the embrace was awkward and the words of comfort somewhat cliched, I gradually calmed down at the sound of his voice. "Okay, we'll wait a bit longer." However, in the following days, there was no good news, because the temperature soon rose again, even higher than before the artificial rain. "It's hot." I looked at the calendar on the wall. Starting from the first day I took off from work, it has been 23 days. During this time, the temperature has almost continuously risen, only dropping slightly on the day of the artificial rain but quickly soaring above 60 degrees Celsius. Yes, the Earth is almost exploding, or perhaps it's better to say, humans can no longer survive on the surface. Some people on Jihu might have it right. Humans are like a virus on the surface of the Earth, and now the Earth is having a fever, using a high temperature to kill off the virus. This is the end of humanity. What are you thinking about? Come help, it's falling. Ziv was carrying 2 boxes of mineral water past me. The bottles, deformed by the high heat, were twisted and one was about to fall out of the plastic bag. I quickly studied it. I don't know how his family had stored so much mineral water. He had moved at least a dozen boxes these past days. I was wondering if the temperature will continue to rise. I helped him move the water into the bedroom, placing each bottle into the freezer. These past few hot days, I've practically wanted to crawl into the freezer myself, think positive, like maybe it will cool down today. It dropped by half a degree yesterday. Ziv pursed his lips somewhat cracked. No matter how much water we drink, it's hard to withstand this kind of heat, and my lips aren't faring much better. Actually, there's a possibility that we're about to evolve with the heat. Haven't you noticed that none of us have suffered from heat stroke yet? He closed the freezer door until only a crack was left, fanning himself vigorously with his shirt, his face red and sweaty. I've come to realize that he's quite the gentleman. Even on the hottest days, he never goes shirtless when I'm around, not even when it rained that day and we had to bathe. I've never had the genes for heat stroke. As a kid, I worked in the fields with my mom even when it was 104 degrees Fahrenheit. I just shrugged. Ziv turned to me with a hearty laugh, looking like a fool. "You call that heatstroke genes? Coincidentally, no one in my family going back 3 generations has them either. I've never suffered from heatstroke. My personal record was playing basketball under a 102-degree sun, causing 3 opponents and 2 teammates to end up in the hospital with heatstroke. I was the one who called the ambulance." Wow, impressive. Cheers to that. I pulled out a drink and handed him one too. Our drinks were running low. Each one we drank was one less we had. But life has to go on, right? To good times. Ziv took it, and we happily cracked open the bottles, taking a big gulp. Refreshing. He sighed contentedly, then flopped down onto the floor. The drinks had been in the freezer overnight. Naturally they felt good. Beneath the high temperatures, we needed the cool air from the freezer. It wasn't fully effective due to its low power, and the ice inside had already melted. It was about as cold as a refrigerator now, only getting a bit frosty at night. If we didn't drink now, even the slight chill would dissipate. I lay down next to him, staring at the glass lamp on the ceiling. The lamp was new, installed just before the disaster, and it shone brilliantly with even the faintest light. Suddenly, I thought I saw the lamp shake. Was it my imagination? I rubbed my eyes, but then the lamp began to shake more violently. It's an earthquake. Ziv sprang up, grabbing my arm and nearly dragging me off the floor. He threw me into the bathroom next to the bedroom and rushed in himself, looking around in panic. The bathroom stank because we hadn't flushed the toilet, but that was nothing compared to the terror brought by the earthquake. The quake struck without warning. They say prolonged drought can lead to seismic activity. I'd seen the theory online but never looked into it, after days of scorching heat. Our fried brains hadn't thought of it. Caught off guard, the building tilted, steadied, then tilted again before shaking up and down like a giant snake passing underground. I screamed, clinging to the only person I could. Ziv, much taller, bent down and held me tightly, guiding me through the quake's jerks and jolts, as we occasionally hit the walls and nearly fell into the bathtub. When the earthquake finally stopped, all I could hear were our frantic heartbeats and ragged breathing, like a seizure. The building didn't collapse, but the bathroom door was askew. I collapsed onto the floor. Ziv, leaning against the wall, walked out cursing. This was a true predicament. The earthquake had damaged our life-saving solar panels, impossible to repair, as 2/3 were shattered and the electrical box had caught fire. It took a struggle to find the fire extinguisher and put out the fire, leaving the bedroom in shambles. After putting out the fire, we collapsed on the floor, exhausted. The sun above seemed to glare at us with malice. I could feel the fine hairs on my face curling and burning in the intense heat, sinking into my pores and causing bursts of pain. In a few hours, the high temperature would kill us. What was the temperature they announced on the radio yesterday? 62, or was it 66? After a while, I got up from the ground and started dragging out the water and drinks from the fridge. "What are you doing? Stop talking and help me." I asked him to push the fridge away from the window and move it to the end of the bed. Then I threw all the drinks onto the bed. After that, I took off my shoes and stepped inside. It won't work. Soon when the temperature rises, you might suffocate in there. Not just me, but us. I waved him over. Unexpectedly, Ziv took a step back. "I'm not going in. I'm claustrophobic. Don't worry about me. Just sit down. I'll keep the drinks cold for you. Maybe you'll make it through." His eyes flickered. What a lie. Claustrophobia. Yeah, right. I gestured for him to come over. "Brother, in my life, I've had one failed marriage. I escaped it after being badly beaten. If you don't mind, come join me. I'm done hiding. I want to give myself a chance. I find that I quite like you." As I spoke, I saw Ziv's pupils dilate. "You," he swallowed hard. I looked at him seriously, feeling the rising heat in the room, unsure if it was actually getting hotter or if it was just my face heating up. I said the boldest words of my life. "Ziv, would you die with me? Dying sooner or later, we all die, but individually, we cling to life and fear death." I hoped he would cling to life and fear death. Ziv turned his head, his face visibly turning the color of liver. "My real name is Xavier. I'm 28 years old, a social media personality, not some game streamer, and I barely make ends meet." What a coincidence. "You heard earlier, my name is actually Mary. I'm 31 years old. A salesperson at a software company, and I make enough money to support you. Would you like to be supported by me, little brother?" Once a person's skin thickens, certain thresholds are crossed. At least I won that debate at the end of the world. "Ziv, no." Xavier finally nodded solemnly at me, then rushed into the bathroom, collected the remaining water into a bucket, and poured it into the fridge. I tacitly opened a bottle of mineral water and poured all its contents into the fridge, filling about a quarter of it. The whole process took less than 5 minutes, but the surrounding temperature had reached a level where even breathing had to be cautious, as if a deep breath would inhale a fireball. I sat in the water, making room for Xavier. He threw a bunch of unopened drink bottles into the water and handed me a small fan that still had power, before squeezing in himself. The fridge was large, but accommodating 2 adults was a bit of a squeeze, especially for Xavier. After sitting down, more than half of my head was still exposed outside. I shifted my position, moved next to him, and nestled into his embrace, allowing his knees to bend as he lay down in a cramped pose. The waterline hadn't risen above our waists. I reached out and pulled down the lid on top of the freezer, leaving just a small crack open. Achoo, the temperature inside the freezer was much lower than outside, and I sneezed. "Are you okay?" Xavier asked anxiously. "I'm fine, Xavier. If we make it out of this, can I take you to meet my parents?" I wrapped my arms around his waist and rested my face on his shoulder. "As long as we survive, I'll bring my household registration book and we can get married on the spot." "You said it. No backing out." "I won't back out, but you have to do something for me," Xavier said. "What is it?" "You need to meet my buddies. They all laugh at me for being a homebody who couldn't find a wife. And here I am, I've found one, and she's a beauty. They'll be jealous for sure." Xavier laughed. Despite the uncomfortable posture, the coolness was a rare relief, and it eased our minds considerably. "Sure, as long as we survive, I'll even livestream our love, As long as we survive, anything is possible. The temperature began to rise, accompanied by aftershocks. I hoped it was just my imagination. Please, no more earthquakes. This building wouldn't survive another severe shake. When it got too hot, I turned on a small fan. The buzzing noise replaced the sound of our heartbeats, and the slight circulation of air was our only source of life. We must survive. I don't know how long it was, but I eventually fell asleep. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Xavier's face, his dark eye circles, gaunt cheeks, and messy stubble. He was sleeping, his eyelashes trembling slightly as if he was dreaming. Looking out from the freezer, the sky was still bright. But something seemed different. Sound. Could it be the sound of raindrops? I reached out from the crack in the freezer and found that the outside temperature wasn't very high. I boldly opened the freezer and stuck my head out. The rain was pitter-pattering against the shattered glass. I saw the sky was gray, with large drops of rain falling from above, some splashing into the room through the deformed window frame, forming puddles on the floor. It was raining. I pinched my face to feel the pain. It was really raining. Xavier, it's raining. We survived. We survived. I excitedly patted his face, trying to wake him. His skin was burning hot. Xavier, don't scare me. I touched his forehead and quickly climbed out of the freezer. Fortunately, I woke him up. It's raining. It's so cold. Yes, it's raining, and you have a fever. Come on, get out. I helped him up, but he slipped in the water, his head hitting the inside of the freezer with a loud bang that terrified me. Finally, I managed to drag him to the bed, and I hurriedly dried his body with a blanket and removed his shirt. After swapping out for a dry blanket, I wrapped it around him. It's so hot, he complained again, kicked off the blanket, turned over, and fell into a deep sleep, breathing rapidly. I stood by, feeling helpless, having never taken care of a sick person before. I didn't know what to do. Seeing him close his eyes, I quickly covered him back up with the blanket, leaving only his feet exposed, and then I walked out of the bedroom. I hadn't been to the living room since the earthquake. It was a complete mess. The television had fallen and crushed half of the coffee table. The display cabinet was leaning against the window of the living room balcony. The floor was littered with uneaten dried meat and vegetables, scattered everywhere. It was bearable, though. I found a pair of shoes and put them on, then carefully lifted the TV to retrieve the medicine box from the deformed drawer of the TV stand. Living alone, I had stocked up on some cold and anti-inflammatory medicines at home, but unfortunately, due to the previous pandemic, I hadn't been able to stock up on fever reducers. After hesitating for a moment, I took out an anti-inflammatory and some vitamins, went back to the bedside, and fed them to him with a drink. Thankfully, he was an easy patient, letting me fuss over him. After doing all this, I let him sleep and turned to pick up a bucket and basin from the floor, planning to collect some rainwater to save. Raindrops continuously pelted the windows, creating a dull, throbbing noise that mixed with distant rumbling sounds, sometimes loud, sometimes soft, like thunder. Carefully navigating through the clutter, I approached the balcony. Just as I was about to set down the bucket and basin, I looked up and saw a scene in the distance that made my eyes widen and my body stiffen. In the distance, a gigantic yellow dragon was rolling forward unstoppably. Its white crust continuously surged, toppling skyscrapers and swallowing lower buildings whole. What I was hearing was not thunder, but the sound of a catastrophic flood collapsing buildings. This couldn't be possible. It had only just started raining. How could there be such a massive flood? This is inland, not a tsunami. Wait, if it were a tsunami, what about the coastal cities? My hometown, my parents, they're in a coastal city. The messages on the radio these past few days have become more and more formulaic. Are they hiding this? I dared not continue thinking, just stood there, watching the yellow dragon approach, stirring up thunderous roars. The buildings, weakened by the high temperatures and loosened by the earthquake, couldn't withstand the force of the flood and began to collapse. Only a few still stood, but they too swayed in the wind and rain, their collapse imminent. The ground beneath my feet started to shake. The flood was very close. My legs gave way, and I almost fell, but I managed to steady myself and return to the bedroom. Xavier was still asleep, seemingly unaware of everything around him. I envied him a little. I climbed into bed, crawled under the blanket, and held him tightly. Xavier seemed to wake up from my movement, murmuring a few words, his head turning towards me. At least on the road to the underworld, I would have company. With a loud crash, like trucks colliding, the building suddenly shook. The few remaining pieces of glass shattered instantly, with a series of loud crashes, bangs and clangs. The ornate glass lamp above plummeted directly onto the quilt, a piercing Sharp noise emanated from where the wardrobe met the wall, followed by the entire bed flipping over. I felt as though I had been flung out, hitting something, only to be yanked back fiercely by a hand. Opening my eyes, it was Xavier gripping my hand, his face a picture of shock, his mouth opening and closing, but his voice lost in the thunderous noise. I clutched his hand back, flung myself towards him, and finally made it back into his embrace. We held each other tightly. Tumbling through the air, then falling, bang, I lost consciousness. It might have been just for a moment, the ground still vibrating beneath me when I came to. The building hadn't collapsed, just the outer walls were gone. We were wrapped in the quilt, Xavier's one arm around me, the other inside the quilt, and both my hands trapped underneath, immobilized. A toppled freezer lay on top of us, pressing us tightly together. From his eyes, I could tell we both looked a mess. 16th floor. He rasped out in a hoarse voice, followed by a few coughs. This building has 33 floors, and the 16th is right in the middle, the most seismic-resistant spot and the pivot of vibrations. It's also the highest point that the local fire department's ladders can reach. I wasn't sure if it was rainwater or water from the freezer that was slowly soaking us. My thighs felt cold. I wanted to look down, but he turned my chin and kissed me. Survive, Mary. His sudden kiss startled me. We both need to survive. I still want to meet your parents with you, get married to you. You need to video call my brothers. Let me show off my girlfriend, my wife. He kissed me again and buried his head in the crook of my shoulder. Xavier, can you get up? I asked him. I can't, I'm stuck. His voice was muffled, and after a few seconds, he added, I regret so much. What do you regret? I asked. He murmured softly. I knew the moment I first saw you open the door and fell in love at first sight. I should have just rushed over and declared my love. I was too timid, and now I'm about to die a virgin. I almost laughed out loud, the shaking of my body causing a stifling pain in my chest. We were really pressed tightly together. I was nearly suffocating. Brother, if you had declared your love then, I would have moved out the next day. Maybe that would have been better. You might have survived. He quickly replied. I fell silent for a moment, then tried to move my hands, feeling a sharp pain. I had regrets too. If in those last few seconds I hadn't gone back to the bedroom but stayed on the balcony, I might have been cleanly thrown out to die by drowning, crashing, or being smashed by the waves. Instead of pretending to be calm here, waiting for death to come, the water inside the room was rising. The flood outside finally seeping in, floating beneath my forehead. Don't move, I'll try to see if I can crawl out, I said, secretly gathering my strength, twisting my body. I realized it wasn't as tightly stuck as I thought. As I began to move, there was some space, and during the intense pain of friction against something unknown with my arms, I stretched one hand out from beneath me, and the pressure suddenly decreased. A drop of sweat from Xavier fell onto my face as he propped up his body with one arm, coordinating with my movements. I slowly crawled out, wriggling in the water, and finally freed my other hand. Using both hands, I wriggled out from underneath him. With a thud, Xavier collapsed into the water. Are you okay? I quickly called out to him. Only after crawling out did I realize the water on the ground was all red. I won't die. He also crawled out, wiping the water from his face. I noticed his other hand was twisted behind his back, likely broken, and a sharp piece of glass was sticking into his left ankle, but I was in no better shape. A deep cut on the back of my right leg was still bleeding. The water level inside the room had risen noticeably, almost reaching my ankles. Many people claim they aren't afraid of death, but the desire for life often peaks just before death. We exchanged a look and, understanding each other, we hopped out. Passing by a collapsed wall next to the security door and jumping onto the rebar exposing stairs. Survival was only possible by going upwards. Adrenaline helped us struggle up 2 floors, until we finally collapsed in the 18th floor hallway. Xavier gasped for air and reached up to pull up my clothes. I shivered. What are you doing? Could it be he wanted one last fling before dying? I didn't have the energy for that. Your thigh needs to be bandaged. Take off your clothes to tie around it. He said. Why not take off yours? Because I'm afraid of the pain, he replied, nodding towards his twisted arm still held behind his back. After a moment, I untied my shoelaces and tightly bound them a few centimeters above the wound. The blood was still flowing, but less so, probably nearing depletion. Blood loss made me dizzy and cold all over. Forget it, let me jump out from there, while I still had the strength. I pointed to a window in the hallway, its frame gone. Where the wind was continuously howling. No, I have to die before you, otherwise it'll sound terrible if it gets out. Xavier crawled up, limped to the window, and then looked outside, starting to cry. Why cry? We've managed to survive this long, longer than many others. Maybe we won't even have to queue in the underworld. I joked with him. He turned his head and wiped his face. Wife, come and see God. I'm an atheist, I said weakly. No, you have to come. It's incredibly beautiful. Xavier hopped over, trying to pull me up from the ground. I didn't want to pull him down, so I had to struggle to my feet. Both of us, crippled and gasping, supported each other and leaned towards the window. The wind blew through my damp bangs. I looked outside, wondering if I could see the same illusion as him, when suddenly my eyes widened. Tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. Tears fell from my eyes. I saw a flag, red with 5 stars on it, a large one surrounded by 4 smaller ones. There was also a blue-gray ship, and a small black boat cutting through the waves, carrying the most beloved people.